here's what I want to say just to our fans right now. I'll get over here a little bit.
Okay, we're going.
Hey, we're really
talk to
hi,
him.
this is Dana. We're in a two-shot. I just want to lean in and kind of talk directly to the
You
fans.
want me to lean out? Okay.
We no, you're part of the deal. I mean, you're definitely
Okay,
my partner. I just want to thank you all for listening to this thing because I got a fuck ton of bills in my life, and I got what you call a big nut, and I'm not talking sexually. Anyway, so I thank you for listening, and I know you're usually driving and doing something else, but I have no anger about that. I'm just glad you're listening, and I hope it brings you a smile. David, would you like to address your fans?
Yeah.
I'll lean out.
I hope it brings more than that. I'd hate to go. I listened to that hour and a half shit, and I got one smile out of it.
What, are you reading the comments? You never can read the comments.
Do. I wish I could be like John Morant, not care. I care about the comments.
I know. Well, don't start waving anything around in my face.
Dude, I should wave a gun during these.
I will take a vow right now that if you wave a weapon, I will not take a video with my phone and post it.
Because you're my friend that's trying to help me in my life.
Yeah.
You want to steer me the right way. But we would have Stephen Smith talking about us if I wave a gun. David Spade he was a good guy. I used to like him. The gun. Carvey should have wrestled it away.
You cannot have this person do 5 rebounds in a half and expect to go to the championships. I think the guy, I've been watching him. Stephen, if you're watching, got to come on your show. I kind of think that is a giant brain.
Yeah.
He's does some long riffs, and I don't know. We know someone here in our studio knows him. But if that stuff is extemporaneous after the half and what he's coming up with, I'm a fan. David?
Jason Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis
is a guy who has trouble spelling his last name.
I'm calling you Davey Segway. He's an all-time great cast member. And then, of course, we did do a deep dive into Ted Lasso, which is such a lightning in a bottle, incredible show. David?
We did a deep dive. I watched the pilot. And
I watched every episode, and
then
he watched
every
episode, the cliff notes.
So we met somewhere in the middle. I was like, so far it seems like soccer's involved.
This is me texting David. Yeah, it's in England.
No, he's great. I've heard about Ted Lasso for the last 3 years, and he's always good on the show. He was super cool. We did it in here, in my pad. We had a blast.
Yep.
He's just a fun dude. He likes to talk, didn't dodge. We just blabbed about everything, and he was a crack up, man. I had a good time that day.
I would say that he, that was the first time like doing this podcast. You get to like sit with someone directly for well over an hour and get to know him. So I really got to know him, and he's a wise. He's an old soul. Sorry, I hate that cliche, but he says some really wise stuff and philosophical stuff, maybe coming from Kansas's own Jason, incredibly humble, regular guy. And I was fascinated how Ted Lasso came about and the origins of it and where it went and how much of his personality and the genius of a lot of moments in that show that you just don't see coming.
Yeah, so hard to put together a show that works, so hard to get it to be a universal hit like that. And they put the secret sauce together. That's a huge accomplishment. We talked about everything you could think of, Dana. You know what you said once? You said something nice. You said, you have an old face. And I said, an old
face?
soul?
No, it was an old voice.
Oh.
No, I said he has a very cool voice. I've told you had a cool voice, but you never take me seriously. I get texts later. Did you mean that about the cool voice?
Dana, tell me again. Look at this. I used to do this with my pen. Can you see that? On the shitty camera. Look at this. Then I go like this. Pew, take that, teacher.
You know what I like?
Oswald.
David, I like when older guys go out with a young woman and they say it's not because she's young, she's an old soul. So she's an old soul who happens to have a great ass. That's it.
Great ass.
I don't care about the fact that she's 19 with an incredible ass. I'm attracted to her. She's brought out of high school. It has nothing to do with that. I'm 91. Hello. I'm Horn Dog Billy.
Jason.
We're going to get letters.
No, we're fine.
We're getting letters. Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, we better
enjoy this. It's a very mellow conversation, very informative and real, just about how people like Jason get to be Jason. And this is a really interesting journey. I would listen if I were you. Don't pause it. I'm talking to the people in the car.
They're like, I just got to go into work now. You know, it's good that no
Skip
one works
work.
anymore. No, because no one works.
You ever heard of this?
Yeah.
Fun employment. Instead of unemployment, put an F on it. Fun employment. It's like you kind of quit your job and you just travel the world. You ever thought of doing that?
I'm soft quitting this podcast. I'd stop talking.
That's a good one. Soft quitting. Yeah. Should we end on that?
I like a soft opening of a restaurant. When I pull my wiener out, they go, "This is a soft opening."
Wiener? Where are you from? 1968? Wiener? You call it a cock.
Wiener. I don't like when girls use medical terms.
Jason Sudeikis. Do you know David has adult candy bars all throughout the house and one in the elevator? No. Sorry, inside baseball.
I got stuck in the elevator once.
Well, he's
an elevator here?
Yeah, he has an elevator.
Yeah. It's time you learned. I
heard
he only gets paid scale plus $1 million.
So you did Joe Biden in the early days. Him 2012.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of a...
We're in 08. I mean, I did him in the... the first time I did him was like when... some Christmas episode of maybe 2007 or something like that. Like, and I forgot. And then when Obama picked Biden as his running mate, Fred Armisen texted me saying, "Congrats." I was like, "Well, for what?" He goes, "Biden." I go, "I play Biden?" He goes, "Yeah, I played SpongeBob SquarePants." Like it was a Halloween sketch, and I was like, "Oh, right." I was like, I guess that means I
you had it. You already had it locked in.
I mean, unintentionally, yeah. I mean, and then I got to do it and be, who was the magician that went on after the Beatles on Ed Sullivan? Basically, I lived that existence playing Joe Biden in the vice presidential debates against Tina Fey's Sarah Palin.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. There's the metaphor.
Like, they look alike, they sound alike, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah. And just everybody was clamoring for it, and she crushed it. And I had fun runs written by Jim Downey and Seth, but everybody was like, yeah. Okay, there we go. Here we go.
You there wasn't much to do. He was full sunglass Corvette guy. He was at Alpha at that point compared to he's older now.
Yeah,
so it was a different take on it.
Paternal, very very grand paternal.
That's all I got.
That's kind of close. Yeah.
I don't know. Good Lord.
So we have
Kansas's own.
Yep. Kansas's own.
Now you play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll ask this first. Could you touch the rim?
I could.
Could you dunk a baseball?
I could dunk a baseball, yes. I probably dunked a basketball 10 times in my life.
Shut up.
Never during a game with a referee. I was just talking about this yesterday.
Any witnesses?
There's basketball going on right now. A lot of basketball. So I'm just...
Yeah, so you're dunking's on everyone's mind.
6'2" or 6'1"?
6'1".
6'1". What's your wingspan, though?
Oh, probably 6'1". Probably nothing spectacular.
So you had a pretty good vertical to get a basketball.
It was also adrenaline. I also had a lot of friends that could jump, and so it's a little bit of peer pressure that way, too, where it's just, come on, just shut up and do it. But I do remember if I dunked 10 times, 6 of those times were one day after playing basketball, like in between junior, senior year, sophomore, junior year, like during summer.
That's unreal, dude.
My dad put up a 9-foot hoop and it fucked all the kids because we were awesome on the 9-foot hoop. And then we go to high school. What the hell is it
what
doing?
Are they doing? Airball after airball.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get the net. I can dunk on the net.
9 foot is awesome.
It's less of a big deal now. I feel like shooting threes off the dribble is what it's all about now because of Steph Curry and whatnot. But back when I was playing, dunking was the biggest deal in the world. I mean, was the test market for those strength shoes. That they that Kramer
really?
Wore.
That would kind of create.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pair for the legit reason. I would jump rope in them all the time. A lot of time spent on that. But yeah,
when they do it now, they go past half court. It's like 1 step, 2 step, shoot it, and you go. Jesus, how do you guard? You don't even know what's happening.
He changed everything.
It's just 1, 2, boom, and you go, and then they make it 90% of the time.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark on the women's college circuit too. I mean, it's all over the place, all over the world. Yeah, just shooting.
You play Sandler?
Adam and I have played. I think we may have played once or twice, but not enough to have a scouting report. Mm-hmm. I hear he's good. I know he
gets into it.
He's competitive too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
What are you doing?
It's all fun and games till the game starts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, get open. I go, what? You don't talk to me like that.
Jesus, Happy Gilmore. I'm not funny.
He goes, check the call sheet. I go, all right, you can yell at me a little bit.
You are not triggering financing out here, buddy. We are all the same. No, but no, he's played in a game with my buddy Sam Jones that I've played in a few times, and my buddy Brad Morris. But yeah, I haven't played maybe once or twice. I mean, probably the most fun I'd had playing was hearing the stories of Gary Shandling's game, then getting invited to go play in that with Sarah Silverman.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and before he passed, and then a huge thing was when Gary was like, "Hey, you can come without Sarah if you want."
That's a big deal.
A lovely sort of, because I'd read about that game forever. Like,
Gary Shandling's house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be Sarah, you. I mean, who were the regulars?
Oh my gosh! I mean, McKay was there.
Jimmy Miller.
Jimmy was there a couple times.
When I used to go in the not early days, but there was a run there when I went and I was no good, and I sort of got pushed in the background.
Yeah.
Just not the emails anymore.
You could be a Muggsy Bogues out there.
I was like distraction, whatever they call it.
Yeah, I just want you out there, like on the side, just like
We need a new guy. We need 5 to keep it even. You go out there and run around in circles.
Or a Spud Webb. I would have been a Spud Webb. Yep. But no, I got out of that quickly. I was D basketball in high school, and our center was literally 5'3". He controlled the paint.
Yeah.
That was when they had D basketball. 5 foot tall, 91 pounds as a freshman. What about you? Were you always a bearded stud in high school? Were you a late bloomer?
It was a beard of acne, like any of us, right? Like, I don't think I could grow a beard until about an hour before I got here.
How'd you get rid of the acne? Because I had it bad too, and I bought all the products.
Yeah.
And then once I said, fuck it, I'm not going to put anything on it. And then within 2 months, it went away.
I think, isn't that something?
Did you do that? Or?
It was a little bit like it just kind of went away. Like a lot of things that have affected me or have fallen on me as almost maybe psychosomatic things, whether it be, patches in growing a beard or back pain. Like so much of it, I think, is where you're at mentally. And there's so much attention put on that. And my mom, bless her heart, was always really more worried about it than I was. Like, because I'm not looking at my face all day. We're looking at our eyes, and so she was really adamant. Yes, she had me going through all this stuff, going to like a dermatologist, and I think it did exacerbate the problem.
I put Stridex medicated pads, and every time I realized later, it took me about a year to go, it's just making it worse.
Yeah, it just hurts. It makes my
Stridex
really
fucking
red.
Dries you out, and I didn't know it as a kid.
And then the oil comes gushing in, and then you know what's going to happen.
Exactly, yeah. But I have a handful of playing. Pseudo dermatologists, scars from trying to like get rid of things, preemptively versus just learning the patience of just like letting it be. Just
how the mind controls everything.
Let's just not get laid this year, and let's just ride it out.
Take it easy. Yeah.
Were you in high school? Were you like captain of the team, or you were kind of a funny guy with your friends, or what was your lane?
Funny guy. Like I was the point guard, so like kind of a de facto, captain in the sense that you're coming down.
Varsity starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
During junior
That's
year.
big.
Yeah.
As a junior.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were good.
I was decent.
Decent,
for my area and my skill level. Yeah, I wasn't too shabby, but yeah, I mean, I definitely. I mean, a lot of what we do on Ted Lasso is my experience of what it's like in locker rooms. People joking around. We were a very fun group of guys. I have very thoughtful friends, guys that I'm still very close with and friends with to this day. And we just we joked around a lot, much to the chagrin I think of our very athletic minded alpha head coach who was lovely and playful as well, but more playful when we were listening and winning.
We had the same situation with a cross-country track distance running coach. Yeah. Blood, gut, and hair, real ex-Marine, all that stuff. So were you kind of the funny guy on the team? Because I was with a lot of guys who had great sense of humor, and I think I kind of developed as a comedian in high school sports running.
Oh, 100%.
Because they would laugh at everything I said.
Yeah, and also, with I always grew up around and gravitated towards funny people. Like I had funny friends, and they were funny in different ways. So like my friend Chris was more of like, oh, what if this happened? And then another guy is like more like wordplay. And then another guy's like a guy you do character voices with. Another guy is the guy that we would do fake radio shows with. Or then when I got a video camera in 6th grade, the guy that you'd make fake talk shows with, and doing both of your guys' stuff, being like an SNL, fanatic at that point, especially before you start going out on weekends, on Saturdays and having a friend that can drive. Like, I did that all the time with all these different groups. And then my sisters did singing and dancing at like a place called Miller Marley. And so I was around all those type of like more overt theater folks, you know, the people that wanted to do musicals, that did, you know, summer stock, you know, in Kansas City in the Oakland Park.
Yeah, and Kansas doesn't have a big comedy scene, right? It's just more, it was a theater improv situation.
It had theater. Yeah, I mean, they had stand-up clubs. I mean, I assume you all did like Stanford's and Sons and all that. Yeah,
clubs in
and coming
City.
through there. I know I saw Dennis Miller do, you know, stand-up my right before my senior year. Me and my dad went to go see him in KC at a place called Stanford and Sons. Yeah, and
brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, my focus was mostly Mom taking us to go see touring companies, going to see my sisters do stuff during the summer, and then there was a place called Comedy Sports that was like sketch, or mostly all improv, kind of like Whose Lines It Anyway, you know, like short form games.
That's hard, actually.
I just love that, and it is hard. And if that's what you learn doing, you know, like where you're just constantly jumping through hoops, people setting you up to fail, like the audience, and it's all baked into it. You develop a little bit of a
so
thick skin.
fast. Improv is so fucking hard, and stand up is hard, but it's at least you can get a head start, you know, and think about it. Yeah, because now when you're in high school, there's a point where you go, I actually think I could maybe do this as a living. I didn't really think that when I was doing stand-up. I just did it one day and just said, I'll never do this for a living. I just want to try it.
Yeah. No, it wasn't until moving to Chicago that I think I want to do this for a living. At that point, and I moved after I stopped playing basketball in college and stuff. Like I was just like, okay, quit doing that, started doing Comedy Sports, working at a grocery store, living in my parents' basement, and then I was like, I'm going to move to Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, my folks were from there. My grandmother lived up there. I lived with her. My Uncle George and Aunt Bernadette had done Second City. You know, George went. I assume that
So you had a place to land,
I had a place to
free for a while.
George Wendt is your
George
father.
Wendt is your son.
He's my son. Yeah,
It's weird. It's a genetic thing.
I'll talk you through it. It makes sense. Brought an iPad to explain things visually. But yeah, like that was when I made the decision. Like, I want to try this. All the rest of it was just about having fun. It was just wanting to do something that I saw and having the opportunity to do it. I assume it's the same.
Did you have stage fright? Or were you pretty comfortable?
Wet the bed.
No, I stage fright. No, okay. I'd get antsy. I'd get excited. You know, I try to explain what anxious is to like my kids. I say it's excited plus nervous. So I was definitely anxious, but I think there was something about having an athlete's mentality towards it all. And it's something I still say today, and something that, again, we've used on the Ted Lasso, show. That there's no defense in the arts. There's nobody trying to actively, for the most part, when you're doing it, just stop yourself. You from doing it. Yeah, just your own apathy, your cynicism, your ego, your baggage. But
I tell my sons, there's no getting your feelings hurt in show business.
Yeah,
it's like no crying in baseball.
Yeah.
Because it's a monolith. It's not against you. It's not stacked against you. It's just a thing.
Yeah,
and
how are you going to respond?
It was made to make you feel bad.
Did you? I just want to insert this because I've always been noticed your voice. And did you get some voiceover offers early in Chicago with your voice?
Never in a million years.
It seems like you have a very good.
He just noticed it was sexy a minute ago.
Hey, look, I have a wife.
Just be morning voice.
It is very sexy, but no.
It might be deeper right now just because of
It just seems like a good voice. Ford Motor.
Screaming
sure. Like Arnett has GMC.
Arnett's got.
I could never. Yeah, I did a voiceover thing for Applebee's like a few years
Sweet.
under
that's
SNL,
right.
which was nice because they're headquartered back home and stuff. And
how did that sound? Did you put on a voice?
Not really.
Or was
it's
it
just
really
like
conversation?
See you tomorrow. Applebee's. Again, see you tomorrow.
Hey, Applebee's.
Feeling like a pot pie?
Yeah. All the spaghetti you can eat.
Tired of blooming onions? Then come to Applebee's.
Sick of breadsticks.
Fish sticks.
But I remember, and there was a big teacher, big influence in my life. She comes up all the time, but this woman, Sally Shipley, who taught speech and debate, had one of her students, she also taught radio TV, and one of her students was like, oh, we should do this thing. You should get to do the voiceover is Jason Sudeikis. He has a nice voice.
Okay.
And I was like, I do? Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. And
I don't have a voice. I don't have a face either. I say this
you
on the
barely
podcast.
Talk.
I'm like an invisible person, but you can put stuff on me or give me a voice.
The silver screen. You're just you are.
I'm just invisible. I'm a totally neutral person.
It's whoever you want to be.
Yeah. You can put a nose on me, whatever. Give me an accent.
It's a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm so tempted to talk about Ted Lasso, but I don't
do not. They told us, do not.
Oh, for real?
I figure, they said 45 minutes in. He doesn't want to promote Ted Lasso. It says right here.
The only one's talking
no
about
Lasso.
working at Banana Republic.
Great, perfect.
And
Good.
We want to
This is
spend
the
an
one.
hour on
And he's an insane
How to fold.
pinball person.
I
Have you
know.
been to the pinball place in Vegas?
The Pinball Museum off the strip there?
Fucking monster right
It's
by the
something
airport.
else.
It's unreal.
Yeah, really is.
They write pinball big enough. You know where it is. And I went in.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bong, 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 bing, bing, bong, bing. Free game. It goes like this.
Yeah.
Free game. But I did it. I went through there and
Got all the effects.
good place to meet kids. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So no, I went in there. I felt weird because I'm like, it's mostly adults. I go, who's weirder? You know, I'm in here. But I played Galaxia,
Yeah.
asteroids, boop, 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 asteroids. You don't find them everywhere, Dana.
No.
You don't go to
I
Shakey's
love. No,
anymore,
I
do you?
did, guys. I'm from the '50s. I mean, we had a pinball
Sarge.
machine at the lake.
It was
Lake
the devil's
Ronan.
game back then. It was gambling. It was bad news. Don't put your quarters in
Well,
there.
Guppy would. The guy who ran the
Where's Guppy been?
Mercantile in Lake Ronan, Montana. He was the king of that
Guppy.
pinball machine out on the deck, and there were goats, and we'd challenge him. And so,
I love pinball.
anyway,
I fell in love with it. Yeah, well after the fact. Throughout, it's always been there because growing up, I was born in '75, so arcades were big as a kid, and Dad taking us to go those things, and I would play, Dig Dug or any of the other games, Tron, whatnot, and then he'd always go over to these pinball machines, and that was the first time I saw a dude cradle the ball where it wasn't just luck. It wasn't. He wasn't just slapping it up there. I was kind of then kind of got away from it. Then one of the fellows that owns and created this theater called Boom Chicago in Amsterdam is a big pinball fanatic and knows a lot about the history and just how the games are made and the designers. And he had one and kind of taught me, and Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard on Ted Lasso, taught us kind of the more nuanced versions of that. And then 10 years went by, and then I bumped into one again. And whenever especially when you're with someone and you go do films and you're spoken for it, to go out on the town can be laborious, especially as you people knew me from SNL.
Yeah.
So me and my friend Chip, who I work with, we would go find a place. I had found an app that was just like
oh really?
a pinball, where you found out where the pinball machines were. And so and it's so great because it give you a reason to go out, give you a focus on something. It's not just having a beer. We're not
do something.
to give you something
totally
and to
sense.
focus on. And also as people maybe started to join us, you could kind of just include them. It was always, we'd always rent a pinball machine too, wherever we were shooting a movie, just to kind of learn it and give ourselves something
that's like
to do.
a Sandler movie.
It
Actually,
is, right? Yeah, it feels like
in Jerry's
we've
Deli,
hatched a little PG-13 on Netflix here, boys. Okay,
Jerry's Deli in the Valley was a big place to hang out. I think it's still there, but maybe it's not.
Jerry sold.
Yeah, but they had, so that was the old days of Sandler, Drake Sather, Schneider, where they had pinball in there. Funhouse, a game called Funhouse.
I love that game.
And we would, just hours, there were just because there's nothing to do with stand-ups in the day.
Yeah.
Bored off our ass, go bomb at night, come back in.
It's practical. It's physical.
It's a quarter. It's not
tactile.
that bad. You get $10 if you can ride it out.
And if you have a good game, it lasts 15 minutes, and then you're sort of competing against folks.
Oh, you hate when someone's
never
got a long
going down
ball.
now.
You're like,
Yeah.
I'll come back.
And then you hear that knock.
That's a good one. It's very close to what it is.
So you lived above a Burger King. I heard.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when is this?
This
Was
is
it
my
during
first.
Burger
Was
King's
there places
coronation?
above Burger King? It must have been in New York.
It was absolutely New York.
Okay.
On 46th Street between 5th and 6th. It was the first place it was the only place I looked at. I moved in. They had me at the Paramount. Supposed to be 2 weeks. I ended up
Is that reason for SNL?
Yes.
That's what I do too.
Yeah.
I go,
Really?
Something's wrong with my room. It's 2 feet by 3 feet. I went down to the front desk and they go, well, you got a king suite? I go,
Yeah.
no. This is my whole room? And I had no fucking idea what was
I
going
had
on.
to sleep in the fetal position. It was so small.
But literally, you couldn't stretch out.
Oh, you could absolutely touch the wall either side.
Okay.
It's like,
Got it.
but this was at the Paramount. This was the
Yes.
room, the
Right.
hotel that they
And
put
they don't
you in.
count on you bringing a suitcase.
Exactly.
Because when you go in, they go,
You
I
can
do
go
this.
in, or the suitcase
They go,
can go in.
"Oh."
You both can't go in.
It's
Yeah.
honestly, there's a stand. It's on your bed.
So
It's
funny.
like, go ahead.
But I was there. Yeah, I was supposed to be there 2 weeks. I ended up extending it 6 somehow, and went to an internet cafe. Looked up a place on Craigslist. My sister Kristen had already lived there for a few years, so I had her come to the look at the place, and and I could see the 30 Rock out the back, out the blinds, because that was why I was here. I figured I was going to get let go within at least whatever the Writers Guild minimum.
It's burned into all of us.
I know.
We all sound like fire me. Just like,
Why would they hire you as a writer? Did they see you perform,
yeah.
but then also
Yeah.
liked your writing and said, "Let's just try him
That's
that
the
way first"?
impression I
it's
get.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never asked. I mean, but that was the impression I got. I mean, it was a little bit like I would have said, I was kidding about, Sandler wanting you around the game. You always hear that Lauren, he just wants funny people around. So even though I auditioned for it, and I auditioned the year after Tracy had left, and and it was the year Keenan got hired, a fellow named Finesse Mitchell, and yeah, I had a decent audition. I had one piece in there where I play a senator who offends black people, and then when he goes to apologize to them, he then offends Jewish people, and then he offends. Then when he's
2003,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it was based on Rick Santorum, he compared homosexuality to bestiality, and then in his apology, just doubled down on it. It was like, what is going on? And so I did that, but it was nonpartisan, and so they liked the writing of that because it was taken.
I like there was thought behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Higgins was more vocal about why I got hired.
Maybe you could give it to someone else.
Steve Higgins was the champion for you.
Him and Tina, who I knew her and her husband from my Second City days. And so then it was just a matter of going out there. I go into that building, walk upstairs. I was like, Chris, how is this? She goes, it's nice. It's clean. I go, and I don't have a good sense of smell. Sense of smell.
Yeah.
So I was like, does it smell like burgers? She goes, you can kind of smell the fries, but it's gone by this floor. Because I think 3 or 4 floors walk up. And the reason why I was on top of a Burger King is because a fellow named Lou, our landlord, was a franchise guy, and he built these things right on top of it. And so,
I still thought we were talking about SNL, but so SNL smells a little like tater
Burger King
tots.
and SNL I always go to Burger King. It's the king.
Will you, if I pick you up, just come down.
What was your? We always ask
up.
cast members. Lorne Michaels is this enigmatic.
Of course,
we've been doing Lorne. If you haven't noticed, mine's a little soft. Dana's is like,
please. Everybody does it, but your relation with him, how did it evolve? Were you standoffish at first? Were you?
No, he was always really nice to me. I think he wanted me to get out of my own way while on his watch, a little bit. Like I would say that, the part of him that hires people because he sees something in them, or someone that he sees something in says that, you should go after this person's got something. I think he's seen all of us or our archetypes a dozen times over at this point.
Yeah.
So he kind of is like, okay, I'm going to give you Billy Murray advice.
Right. They attach you to someone.
I mean, I don't know. I've never asked him, but that's what it felt like a little bit, because he was auditioning. Who to, but he was always supportive. He was always someone that I felt I could go up and speak to. I remember that after that first audition, talking to Horatio and Maya Rudolph. Horatio I knew from Second City. Maya, who I just met, but it was lovely. I went down to go downstairs and go, they're not going to laugh. No one's going to do anything. Don't worry about it. And I went down and did it. And after I got done with my studio audition, the first one, Lorne came over and shook my hand. And I did not know what to make of it.
Would not know what
wow.
to
I still, where it doesn't, I still don't know what to make of it.
He came over and shook your hand.
He stood up, walked over. Now I walked forward, and I was told that no one's going to laugh. People did laugh a little bit. It was only 5 people.
Sure.
And then he's not going to say anything. And then he got up and did the opposite of that. I was like, and I didn't go upstairs and try to make sense of it. I probably haven't really spoken much about it because it didn't, I was like, now I don't know if I then walk out, go back to my dressing room, which was, Daryl Hammond's dressing room, I believe at the time. And he may have just walked out behind me and gone to the John. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Can you give me a piggyback ride?
Exactly, but it is interesting how he will cast it sort of almost like a sitcom in a way. You'll be Bill Murray and Bill Hader will be sort of a young Dick Phil.
Were you like a Phil type or no?
No, I don't know if I was. I feel like he wanted me to be. The thing that really helped, sort of pushed me over the edge, because I wrote for those first 2 seasons was I wrote when you came back to host once, and I was on the cast when you came back to host once. Mm-hmm. But that in those first 2 years, there was a sketch that we did when Tom Brady hosted, and I basically did this the same dancing that I do in that What Up With That sketch. The exact
we wanted
same
to
thing.
talk about that.
But I did that dancing
because
Beck was performing that week, and he had a guy that was doing the dancing kind of off to the side. And so I just made the choice to do this, and then it made a bunch of people laugh. And I remember Tina telling me that during dress rehearsal, when that sketch was going on, he kind of looked at the screen and goes, Dan Aykroyd.
Oh,
and then we had the show Saturday. The sketch made it on, as did the other sketch that me and my buddy Joe Kelly wrote for our man Tom Brady. And then 2 weeks went by, and during that break, they moved me into the cast. So it was kind of like,
Well, it's such a specific dance, and it always makes you laugh. Even if I watch it again, and I'm laughing every time because it's so specific, and you're playing it so earnest and so clueless. So, and what's up with that? You can't take your eyes off you. And Keenan talked about how much you made that sketch, I
mean, that's very sweet of him. I would argue.
Because you didn't have a line. You're just, what he call it's like a bicycle thing, and then you would do the side hip
Running
thing.
Man is hard to do, and you look so stupid.
Yeah.
And your wig, and also, I think in the Ted Lasso clip where they say, it looks like you're in the middle of all the guys, and
100%.
That's like the first show.
Yeah.
So it's a hilarious
very
dance.
specific.
What's up with that is just funny anyway.
It's just funny, and it was such a joy. I mean, what were when people ask me my favorite sketches from that one is always top 3, and not necessarily because of the effort I put into it or the way people respond to it, which is always lovely, but just it was the one that we did, my generation, where when they'd start to build the set, people would start to get hyped. Then it found that spot after update, so they'd tear away the update thing, then they'd start putting up that, and the people in the crowd.
And they know
and we were all in it.
Great.
Everyone was in it. Everyone was in some weird
it's a gigantic
costume. It's the
cast.
best. And you'd always have like Robert De Niro there, or somebody like some weird cameo. Bill dressed as Lindsey Buckingham. We knew exactly where it was going to go. We're just slotting in all these things, and it was
great to get a cameo. It's great when people, even cast, want to be in it, or a host comes in and says, "I want to be in that."
Yeah.
That's the best.
And so for people who don't know, what's up with that? Was Keenan was a game show, or a talk show host.
Whatever
and then
it was.
he never got to asking anyone any questions. It was these long musical interludes.
Long intro.
Do you have background singers, I think?
Yeah. And then you dancing. And also athletically, did you get out? I mean, you did it for a long period of time.
It was more of a magic trick. I would do it for a little bit of time, and then I'd jump in to frame. Like, that was the thing the thing I always look at is I've been doing that dancing since I was on basketball teams, like from the early 90s. That's just watching MTV Raps with Fab Five Freddy and Kid and Play and House Party and all those movies. And yet it was the same thing. I made my 15-year-old friends laugh. The things that I delighted in were me learning the edge of frame and how to make it look like I'm dropping in off of something, or taking a long exit roundabout thing, doing a Sherman Hemsley walk off, and just trying to tickle Keenan, trying to make him laugh, but just milk up as much screen time as possible just to make Kenny Among in the booth laugh.
And you were doing it different on air. You were to surprise them.
Yeah. You try to switch up little things here and there. Yeah, we had a good spry group of people, my generation, that at some point realized that if we make the boss laugh by making each other laugh, he'll love it.
In a sketch that's funny with the sound off, there's no real joke. Once the melee starts and the party and the dancing and all the stuff, the audience can really just laugh.
Oh, it's great.
Because they're not listening for any, which is another one I wanted to bring up that you did with Keenan, was the Scared Straight.
Yeah.
And he gave you kudos too as his partner in crime, going, hey, come on. I mean, that thing is really classic.
Again, so fun, because we'd always get the host would have something fun to do, but then Bill and Andy were in there, and Bobby Moynihan is who I picture for the third, and Keenan, when you get Bill and Andy cooking and laughing, and then Bobby too. Bobby's so funny. And then Keenan would come in there just hollering at whoever. I'm trying to think. I mean,
I like hollering.
And were you writing on the show with 4 other people at that time? Did you come up with this with Keenan or
no?
Alone,
that was probably him. I'm guessing Brian Tucker, maybe somebody else, Rob Klein potentially. But no, I a lot of times I was just those 2 instances were I was merely a muse.
And who did you connect with as a writer? Did you have someone who you wrote with more regularly, or would come to you with stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, those first 2 years, I really felt imposter syndrome of as a writer, only because I had only recently discovered what I liked writing for myself. But again, that virtue of having funny friends, it was one of those things. And there are two sort of commandments, if you will, or a piece of advice that Tina gave. One was don't write anything that you feel like you can do yourself, because it'll drive you crazy, especially if you did audition for the show and I did it once and she was 100% right. I wrote a Dr. Phil thing for Jeff Richards. Later in my first season, because I just wasn't getting anything on. So I was like, well, I'll write something that I know, and Jeff and I worked on it really well, and it didn't go super great at the read through. And I remember just being unnaturally upset, like where it's just like that's.
Well, you mean you knew how to play it? You're
yes,
like,
but
that's my thing.
Like, yeah, but when you hand it over, it's like I'm okay. I was okay doing that, but people, it's like people weren't hot on Jeff at that point in that room, and he was doing it well. It just like didn't get over that hump, that Wednesday
he is
hump.
good.
It's a tough room.
God, I think when they hire you as a writer, I think Dana, it's like a little scammed. First of all, it's a little cheaper. It makes you work harder.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't know how to be a writer. I was from Arizona. I just barely had 25 minutes of stand-up. And Rob Schneider and I, we got the call together, and he goes, "Hey, it's great news. We're hired as a writer, performers." And I go, "No." He goes, "No, that's great. That's what Chevy Chase or someone was." I go, I don't know how to fucking write. And I don't know how to write for other people. I barely knew how to write for myself. So you get in there and they would say, write for Dana, write for Mike Myers, write for whoever. And I'm like, it's so hard. And also I barely have ideas myself. Yeah. And then you give them away and it kills you inside.
Yeah, I know. And for me, what eventually happened was I started pairing up with like Fred. Fred and I hit it off. And Fred's just a lovely, fun guy. Yeah. And what I couldn't do was make up something for these guys, like on a blank page at that point. But what I could do is listen to what they did, do bad impressions of it, let my brain click into that, and help with rewrites. Like the rewrite table was, I still love it. I'd sit at any show's rewrite table. That's my.
It's fun to help someone else's sketch because your ego's out of the way, and you're just like, how about
to get
this?
one line in, to get anything in.
The best. It's like,
and you feel like you're in the game. You're like, if I can compete, just be. Yeah, even with these guys or in the mix.
Absolutely, that I'm not taking up space here. That I do belong here. I have worth being here. They haven't wasted their time.
They're not
money.
rolling their eyes.
Exactly.
I told Dana this when he was there. I think when there was a sketch where he used to play receptionist. I wanted to do it. I hadn't been on much and I was sort of teetering on every summer. They'd go, I don't know if we're going to keep them, and I'm like, God damn, how can I work any harder? Maybe I'm just not good enough. And then I got on, and then David Bowie was a musical guest, so I said, ask him if he wants to be at the end, and I won't know who he is. And then he said yes, and then he wanted to call me, and then he asked if he could be my part and switch. And I said no, and it was so hard, but I go, I have nothing. It made me think what you said about you just want to get on, so even like one of your good sketches, you might just give to someone that you brought in. Yeah. Just to get on to stay. Yeah. And then worry about it later. Like, okay, I gave one away. But I don't even know if that one was any good. You just go, I want to do it. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. And I was like, oh my God, and I get to talk to David Bowie and then I get to go sideways with him right away. He's like, yeah, okay, go fuck yourself. Good luck with your shit.
I had that. I had a different angle on that with Robin Williams, who I adored and was a really good friend, but he really wanted to do Church Chat. And this is in the early days. Right. This was my golden ticket and I was very careful. And I thought if Robin got so excited, it would be like, oh, look, no tits, that kind of stuff. Exactly, I was just afraid of it. And he even called me Saturday morning at like 10 a.m.
To be in it? To play,
be in it, to be a guest. I would really like to play, And it was heartbreaking, but, we got past that. It wasn't, but it was, in those days, if your thing was very precious. I wanted to keep it quasi-real in a sense. But happens.
Not like quote unquote sell out, like by giving it over to the show. I mean, again, I'm using this, metaphorically. It's not selling out.
Well, that was a lucky thing because the cast, I had Phil and Jan and people in it, and it was a lucky thing. I didn't know home base, and then have the cast come and go and the host. So Lauren loved it because I didn't have to score.
Did you come in with characters?
Not really. No, I did like. No, not really.
Did you write them down? Was that a thing?
I did like 3 characters and like 7 impressions that first audition, and it was mostly that senator sketch that I mentioned. And from what I heard, like when you get to that point, like how the heck did I get here? In 3 years, once you sort of know you're there.
How did that make it? Whatever you did, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Or it was as much like the banter in between, like dealing with like whether the piece played well or didn't. I was. Yeah, dubbed, being funny, so they just wanted me at the table because it did feel weird getting, being like actor. I mean, I called my manager over at Brillstein, Jeff, and I was just like, maybe I fucked up. I think I should just stay acting. No, you're in showbiz now. I'm in showbiz, and he would say, you, Sandler, Chevy Chase, Tina, obviously at that point, like all starting as writers is like, and I'd do sketches, questions and
anything.
It was great, and yet it really took that relationship with Lauren and the one thing that I learned there that I feel like I would encourage folks to do is like go talk to a person that can as if you have the opportunity to find audience with the person that can actually change the situation, do that versus talking to everyone to the left and right of them.
That's
and Lauren was always open to that with me. And I think that
when did Two A-Holes come in? Because that was one fairly early on.
That was Chris and I's first season.
So that really you popped when I saw that.
Yeah, I mean that was this magic Christmas episode that Jack Black hosted. Neil Young was the musical guest. We had our new sort of generation was pretty intact there. Like I had come in at the end last 3 episodes of the season prior. Bill and Andy got hired over the summer, and then Kristen got hired about like 5-6 weeks into the season.
And then Fred a little later.
Well, Fred had already been there. Fred and Forte had already been there.
Yeah,
Maya had already been there.
So that was a a very fertile time on SNL.
Yeah.
The cast was.
But that specific episode was that they did Lazy Sunday, the digital, the Lonely Island guys. We did Two A-Holes. Will Forte did the Spelling Bee sketch that he had submitted probably 6 times in the couple years, which was a Groundlings trunk piece that he had that just everybody loved. It never got over the hump. But Jack Black, who was the host of my very first episode as a writer that I got a piece on, like he was just like this lucky charm for me specifically, but I feel for a lot of folks because he was one of those hosts that would just support the piece. Like in A-Holes, he's straight up just a straight man, and that was Chris and I. We were writing together every single week, and we were just tired and we were just chewing gum. And just started talking like that, hey babe, and and just how do we make this guy's life a nightmare?
How would you describe that to people who are listening? It may not have seen it. It's like 2 cocky young people, self-involved.
Yeah, 2 self-involved people making a business transaction as difficult as as possible for the person trying to help.
Yeah, and you had a rhythm of babe. There was a thing.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was like chewing the gum. Yeah, hey babe, what are you doing? Yeah. What do you want to do? Yeah, we want to go to Hogwarts. And then Kristen was just like this kind of like and she was vapid, like almost like a Paris Hilton type, but just vocal fry and just I want to go there.
I'm tired.
Yeah. Sometimes at 3 a.m, you go, is this even funny?
Oh, but 100%.
You're just like, are we delirious? This is fucking funny. But also it's you two, which is already. You're halfway there because people want you.
At that point.
I mean, maybe you weren't even that.
Still emerging. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I mean, she was off to the races because Chris had so many good characters. I mean, the Groundlings folks always consistently blew doors off of us Second City folks.
Did they really?
Yeah, I think like in regards to characters. You know what I mean? Like I mean that's what I love about the. I'd say that Farrell and McKay are like Bird and Magic, like just like platonic soulmates that were like the Hatfields and McCoys who then came together with these 2 sensibilities of these 2 amazing sketch, American like comedy theaters, and then boom, like we're off to the races once they decide to like just harmonize with each other.
We had more stand-ups back when
you did, yeah.
A lot of us were stand-ups.
Didn't have real theater up in San Francisco. There was no Groundlings I would have been in it in a second. I wonder what it's like to be in the Groundlings today.
Right.
Because it's obviously such a feeder system. And now the Hall of Fame with Lovitz and Phil and going on.
Of course.
Must be very nerve-wracking because if you get in that and you're in the main company, people, you have a chance, Lauren's
I would assume so, but I think it's like, especially being out here, because that was one thing about Second City in Chicago is that you weren't, it was just about trying to do that well, like navigate like that. You wanted to be a good improviser, you wanted to be a good writer, you wanted to be a good actor, but you wanted people to, do a good job for the piece, but you weren't thinking beyond like the building you were in a lot of places, because I think it's in Chicago, even though it has that same, alumni, plus 20 more years. And
you're kind of famous just doing it in Second City, right? I mean, that's a pretty big deal already.
Yeah, and you're getting paid for it, which I don't know. I don't think Groundlings gets paid. I don't know if things have changed over the past few years. But
can we talk about a few more of your really cool sketches you were in? I mean, the commitment. I mean, I watched I don't know if David saw it, but the potato chip with Will Forte and the way you both played it with such full-on sincerity and drama. And then when you started to break, I just thought, no wonder he's so good at Ted Lasso. You see the seeds of it. Like,
sure.
It's comedy, but I really felt bad for the way you played it. That first you were super defiant. You didn't need the potato chip. It's a complete theater of the absurd.
Oh, absolutely.
With such commitment. And Will Forte is a freak that way. He's on and then the way you decided to give it up, and then the way you saw it? I mean, you must have known that was, because that's such a weird sketch that people who like it must really mention it to you, right?
100%. That's one of those sketches I'd be curious to know from both of you. What's the one that people can come up to you and like, oh, we would have been friends as kids. If you like that, then we're like friends for life. People say, "What up with that?" That's great. People dress up like that character for Halloween.
Yeah,
but I would say Potato Chip and Main Justice.
Is another
two that if people come up to me and go, "I love Potato Chip," then I'm just like instantly have a soul connection with that person. Do you have one like that?
Oh yeah. What Skinheads from Maine. Which I did.
I love we both have a Maine sketch.
I did it on the variety show with Colbert.
Yeah.
It was just a flight of fancy of a Petridge Farm kind of voice, being a skinhead.
Yeah.
The weather's the only thing that the Jews don't control. It was that level of him.
That's funny.
And what do you woodland there, Clem? He goes, I hate stick for beating Spaniards. And so it was Skinheads from Maine.
Yeah.
So people at an airport come up, hey man, our friends and I always mention that.
Yeah. Because we're skinheads.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for
making us
full
KKK.
For repping us.
What about you, David? It would be bye-bye. Maybe.
Bye-bye. No, we did bye-bye twice. The second one bombed miserably.
It's a very catchy catch.
It's a catchy one, yeah. That was
the only one. It was only twice.
That's what we did, and then we went away I went to Los Angeles the next day, and this flight attendant said it. And then from then on, I probably honestly heard it maybe every day of my life for about 10 years.
Because when you go off a plane, if they say anything like that, your head goes to your sketch.
Absolutely.
And then that's the easiest thing to say. And then they were told not to say that anymore. And then they show the sketch, because my friend's wife worked for American. They show them and say, this is what they think of us. So we have to change our own. Like, geez, we've ruined everything.
We say good morrow. Now we say good morrow.
We say get fucked, get fucked, get fucked. I mean, they still hate you, whatever they're saying.
Sorry about the legroom. Sorry, we're charging for bags. Yeah.
No, it is. It bought me some street cred with. Sometimes they come by like on the Southwest and they give you like a thimble of water, and then they come by and they go, hey, and they wink and they give me like a 2-gallon jug, and I go, oh my God. And then the person next to me, can I get another water? I'm like, I'm waterlogged. I've had too much. I'm holding it like a baby. And they're like, get fucked. I have too much water.
That's mean. Get fucked.
I know. They get mad at me.
Now, what about this Maine Justice guy? That's another really...
Yeah. I mean, it's the same character, really.
I noticed,
which is,
but it's such a fun... How do you describe that sort of character? I mean, he's like got a little goatee. He's like Colonel Sanders or something.
Yeah, like what's funny, and this is one of those things that I love, like one of the lessons, like showbiz lessons that it can almost extend into life lessons at SNL, is the Potato Chip sketch was done when I was going through a divorce. I was like not sleeping well, like being pulled every which way. John Solomon and Will Forte, who were writing buddies, went to UCLA together, etc., and created all this stuff since Last Man on Earth and MacGruber and whatnot. They write Potato Chip, and the reason they write that thing is because I had done a sketch a few weeks earlier. The first time we did. What up with that, actually, when Gerard Butler hosted, and I had just seen Cool Hand Luke, and I was kind of like, oh, it'd be funny to do a Cool Hand Luke sketch, but Cool Hand Luke tries to get out of eating the eggs by just being like, are these free range eggs? Like it's like he says, I bet I can eat 50 eggs. And then I wrote myself as like the George Kennedy part. So I'm doing all that kind of, oh boss, here we come now, doing all that, and it did well, but it didn't get picked. So you. And that's the beauty of like Wednesdays is like that's when you write one for them, one for you, and you do something, and then your friends, like hear things, or your coworkers hear things. Oh, Jason can do this voice, and so then they write Potato Chip and write me in that voice.
Yeah,
and so it comes from that, and so they're just right from this really crazy, silly place, which is literally just me doing a bad George Kennedy from Cool Hand Luke.
But a loud, bombastic, cocky, high energy is fun to do in that studio.
Yeah, and just picturing an outfit, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, again, one of those great things that I think Kristen is such a perfect example that the Groundlings folks had. Like they could see these characters that could just be transferred on the television. Oh yeah, with like wigs and just like the slight, like just a couple, props and wardrobe, and boom, they're off they went. So then with Main Justice, there was an idea that I had first year for Horatio Sands, and it was more like Texas Justice, and then just like then we just like added some layer of absurdity to it. We just make it Maine, and I mean I've told this story before, but like Lauren and Seth hated it because there's no logic whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not really a Maine accent.
It's not Maine. It makes them like, why are they talking like this? What is going on? Why are you talking about crawdads up in Maine? And not lobsters. All this stuff.
Yeah.
And myself and Mike O'Brien, who was my office mate and a good friend, we wrote together a lot. And I'm trying to think who else was on there. Oh, I think Rob Klein as well. who was a Harvard kid, super clever and silly. We were just like, what are you talking about? What was the logic behind Toons is the driving cat? Yeah. You made us this way. It's your fault. Yeah. So
I blame you, Dad.
And so that's why 2/3 of that sketch, we just go through the list. We're like Bobby Moyan's character is like, what the hell is going on? So and then I just go through just exposition maybe this happened after Hurricane Katrina. Maybe there's a time war, whatever.
It's just this weird
it's just to satisfy the
story
boss.
of where does this guy
And then we just push on through. But yeah, that's one of those ones that you just, I think it's probably from the one, the Kool Hand Luke, but then also being a fan of Harry Connick Jr. When New Orleans folks would, get real comfy and just start talking.
Real cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you, when you were just Kool Hand Luke, what were the things that blew your mind as a kid, with movies or TV and stuff?
Yeah.
They inspired you. Was it Kool Hand Luke one of them?
No, the first one that comes to mind is Beverly Hills Cop. Seeing Beverly Hills Cop in the theater. Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
you guys have to pay for the rights for that? If we use
then we just fade out on it. We can do 6 notes.
Exactly,
you can do 6 notes, and then we're like, fucked.
You do it for the repeat.
Marcy, get Tina. Yep. Jason. Anyway.
But that was a big one. SNL was huge. It was that was certainly.
When were you in high school? When was SNL? What
94 was 90 to 94.
That was weird
I know. Yeah. But I would say up until sophomore year, until my friend Matt Bale got his driver's license.
Somehow you got a car and then you're out.
And then you're out every Saturday night. What were you doing late Saturday night?
Not
we were on 11:30.
Like bowling. I probably didn't do too much. I don't know.
What's in KC?
We were on 10:30 in Kansas City. You guys were.
We were on 10:30.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Damn.
God, Arizona, it's like on 9:30.
Do you want me to do any of my sketches you may have missed?
Boy.
No, I got to ask him about
let's go back. Where's it on Peacock
movies?
Everything's on Peacock. Do they have to name the network? It's a swear. Peacock. You can't really put on an art piece on Peacock.
We're the Millers, Horrible Bosses. Stop me if you're in any of these.
Horrible Bosses. Yeah, we were told by.
Who were you told by? You're up to. You can do whatever you like.
About the age group of when you're a certain age. I know. We just do this.
I love looking at the ones like Dick Fuel, Crime Scene.
Well, I thought that guy was fucking awesome.
I did too. I thought that was so fun.
That character.
Dick Fuel. It's just me doing like a bad Stallone, but
or
also
Vin
with Vin Diesel. I'm doing Vin Diesel. But
so you've got a really good bald cap on,
really good.
like a super short crew cut.
Yeah.
You coming in? What was his?
He's supposed to take a hit from Jeremy Renner. He's supposed to
he flinches.
Yeah, he's just a stunt guy, and he just flinches every time.
Yeah,
and he fights back. It's so silly. It's so but yeah, I did that for the MTV Movie Awards when I hosted.
That's
it was
fine.
me.
You can look at this if you want. It's just
so Crime Scene is one of my favorites. We did that with Charlie Day.
Yes.
Okay, so now
that was another great one.
But that's written by Joe Kelly, who's one of the co-creators, one of my dear friends, who co-created Ted Lasso. Mm-hmm. That was a scene that he wrote for a sketch show after he didn't get asked back. He had a killer year at SNL, didn't come back, went on to go do great work at How I Met Your Mother, a handful of other sitcoms. He co-created Detroiters, etc. That was a scene that I saw him do in the sketch show. It was all about cops and magicians, right? So he does this thing, and I'm like, this is a humdinger. I just love the writing of it. It's so clever, and so it reminded me of in that space of the audition sketch from Mr. Show or the Dead Parrot sketch, Monty Python, one of those where it's just the writing is just super clever, and those are two of the all-time greatest sketches.
And just very quickly, it was like he's kind of doing sort of a quasi-Columbo investigating a murder, and then he doesn't relate to anything you mentioned.
No, not baseball. He doesn't know what baseball is. Doesn't know what World War II is. He doesn't know.
Excuse me. Yeah. I never watch television.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he's just like this cop who's just kind of a TV snob.
Very Monty Python.
100%.
Yeah.
And so then when Charlie hosted, I asked Joe if we could do it. He's like, absolutely. Charlie and I were doing it. I was going to play the part Charlie was playing. And then Charlie was like, what if we switched? I was like, yeah, let's do that. Because Charlie and I had done Horrible Bosses 1 and 2. I'd been on It's Always Sunny. I think he's as smart and lovely and funny as they come.
He's funny.
And so I was just and trust his instinct and his gut like crazy. And I was just like, yeah, let's do that. And that sketch, I love to pieces. And it's just one of those things that similar to doing the George C. Scott George Kennedy voice is just because you do it there and it dies, doesn't mean it's dead. Just because it dies doesn't mean it's dead. It can come back around and find some other place or inspire some other some other thing that then finds the right host and the right timing.
Right home.
Yeah.
Same thing with Cowbell until 100%. Walken came in.
Yeah. Because then they do it a few times.
They did it and it just never landed.
Someone said they did it as the host. Who was we talking to? They said they did it and they said it didn't work.
It didn't work.
And then they
got a fever.
You just need crazy Walken.
I mean, you can't. It's one of the greatest rhythms for thing. And then Will, who can lower his IQ, which we said in like 5 seconds. So Cowbell, he does this thing with his eyes where he's really stupid. He's so committed.
So funny.
So the two together, it's a magic sketch. But this one I watched, and God damn, that was funny.
Yeah, that's Joe Kelly and Charlie Day, and me just trying to get in where I fit in. You know?
Damn. Dane, I want to ask about Horrible Bosses because...
well, we should because people on our staff were mentioning...
I saw it. I love Horrible Bosses.
I saw Horrible Bosses too, and also The Millers. That one was another smash.
And you have Aniston in both of them?
Yeah, she's in all three. I mean,
what is she like?
I've seen all these movies. Wait, she's in them?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember one thing.
You go to her parties and you don't even know what film she's been in?
He cares about her as a person.
No,
the work is secondary.
You're going to get disinvited.
I like thinking, did she need coaxing to be super dirty? And I think that was the Horrible Bosses one.
Yeah.
Or
I don't think she did.
Is she like just ready to just break it out? And
she played a stripper in The Millers, and then
in both.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression she needed to be coaxed into it at all.
So she reads Horrible Bosses where she's filthy. You know that one, Dana? She's
She's spraying crotches.
She talks dirty, and after not too far from Friends after that, right? It was pretty.
I mean,
at least she was like America's Sweetheart.
2013 we did, or no, that was like 2010. Yeah.
So she, same year as Grown Ups. You remember that?
Throwing a wig on, putting a wig on too. I mean, that was definitely her being, I would assume her having fun with the assumption that people make. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of, the second one. I really liked the second one. It was like our homage. I mean, I think the world, like I said, of Charlie and of Jason Bateman and of their partners. Like, it's such a fun group to roll with and do even press together.
They're
and
quick.
If I could like have one thing, one do-over, I would have put out that Horrible Bosses 2 movie, maybe more in the summer, because they did it. Warner Brothers, New Line released it, from what I understand, as like counter programming for Thanksgiving, and it was like because that's usually when we put out Oscar movies and like family movies, and it's like, and I think they miscalculated, people wanting to go see a movie with their grandparents where Rachel from Friends is wearing a cock ring like around her neck, like just like
she's riding a Sybian for most of the movie.
Somebody somewhere had that idea in a room. Everyone's
let's do that.
There's plenty of those sappy dog movies. We'll go with the cock ring around the neck.
I'd love to be on the side. They're just like doing a scene. They're like, one more. Jennifer, maybe say, Ian, eat your pussy. Okay, rolling. And she's like, wait, what am I doing? Just to get to yell out, bark out alternative jokes.
Everybody.
But
yeah, that's how all those movies work, though. But they just run in jokes. That's the fun ones when you do comedies like that. I love it. It's funny people.
I wanted us to keep doing it like almost like the Marx Brothers. Like just the next movie we're gonna do is like a prison break movie. Like just keep doing genres, but it has the three these three goofy like middle-aged dudes and just going through it.
When it works like that.
What's your attitude? I mean, I hear people say this a lot. Like they don't make comedies like that anymore, or like Tropic Thunder, or just it feels like we're in a different place with comedy films.
Like a
just
R.
Like balls out, funny R-rated comedies.
Yeah,
I guess they're out there. I don't know. I'm a shut in.
Yeah,
I did watch all of Ted Lasso.
I think sometimes they, from the top, you get down. Like I don't know if I do that. You can do it, but it starts to. You start to lose jokes, even in specials. It never was.
Or you censor yourself,
specials,
kind of.
Stand up. They start cutting stuff. They start saying, and you're like, oh, because it used to be just. Say whatever and live or die by it. If you're going to get in trouble, it's you.
Yeah.
And now they blame Netflix or Amazon, and that makes them nervous. So it's just hard to get out, do whatever you want. Podcasts, we're not really dirty. Dana's filthy, but we're not really dirty.
Loves working blue.
So you can't. But this is one of the last places. If you want, you can sort of say whatever you want. There's not really a boss.
Yeah. And we have editing capabilities. So if you said kill all, whatever.
No, we're going to take 90% of this out.
We'll have to be more specific.
We're going to start in 1 minute.
We're going to start. Dude,
this is our best warm-up.
I told Dana, I did one the other day, and I was doing my fucking gross bits ahoy. I was like, ba bits. I walked in, coming in hot in about 5 minutes, and they go, that's great. All right, let's roll tape. And I go, you're fucking joking. And then they're like, we're here with David. So I go, you guys... It was rolling. Everyone was fun.
Always rolling productions. You want to shoot the rehearsal.
Hit the red button and let her rip.
We covered George Wendt. Okay.
We did a little bit. Yeah.
We did a little bit of Wendt.
Oh, you did Hall Pass.
I did do Hall Pass
with Owen Wilson.
Hey, how's it going?
I think we should go there. Yeah. I knew a guy who had a real Hall Pass with his wife. Like literally.
And who was it?
I don't know if he ever paid it off, but it was like they both married as virgins together. And she said, "You got one." So when this movie came out, I go, "Damn, they made a movie about that."
Yeah. I didn't see a title.
Good idea.
Good time.
I've been a Hall Pass for a couple people.
Have you?
Starting to get it, Dan?
Starting to get it. That's my catchphrase.
I was in Vegas at the meet and greet, and they were like,
I say that to Lovitz all the time. Starting to get it.
No, yours is
go ahead.
Come and get some.
Come and get some. Oh yeah, should I do a couple of those for him?
Yeah, go ahead.
I try to come up with the worst hacky redneck comedians. So he's called Rednecky, the redneck comedian. I married my sister only because Mama turned me down. Come and get some.
Gotta have a catchphrase.
I asked my mama what's for dinner. She said roadkill. I said, what kind? She says, I gotta take a drive. Come and get some.
I like how it trickles right. It's in the jokes, and you're like, oh, is that after the joke? That's the
come and get some.
I got mine as rack.
It's your cigar pull, Burns.
It's hard to come up with a catchphrase. Come and get some. I had to look it up. I couldn't have been the first one to say, come and get some.
I remember who's the guy that would do shucky ducky quack quack. Like it was somebody on. It was on Def Comedy.
Oh, black comic?
Yeah,
Shucky Ducky.
He might have been called Shucky Ducky.
Oh, it might have been his name.
Yeah, Shucky Ducky. Quack,
I think
quack.
Louisiana.
Well,
comic.
there's millionaire influencers that just have a catchphrase. I like hot sauce.
Yeah, they have a catch filter.
It's a meme and a coffee cup. I don't know. I'm not a grumpy old man. I swear to God, I'm not.
I like with his movies. I just say what movies he's in. You were in Hall Pass?
Correct.
Yep. Okay,
Ding.
what else?
I was in most of it.
I did like Hall Pass.
Masterminds,
yeah.
John was that?
It's a cartoon one.
That was with Kristen Wiig and Galifianakis and Owen Wilson again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played a little like a hitman in it. Showed up there for a couple weeks. The hired gun. You come in, you screw together your sniper
rifle. And then you
rifle
went back and hosted. Was that kind of cool?
It was
SNL?
Fun. Yeah. I'd been asked prior, but the timing was off, and it was. I went back and played. Biden a couple times.
Oh, you did?
Mitt Romney
that's
a couple
right.
times.
Yeah.
But at that point, I hadn't had the chance to host, and there's perfect timing. It was nice. I mean, it's a surreal experience. The one thing that was different was it was post-COVID, so the table read was, which I loved. Like Wednesday was like a little theater show for everybody. And
55 sketches.
Oh, it was. I just loved it, and just the marathon.
It's insane.
It's insane.
Just the BO in that room alone. Everyone's so nervous.
Yeah, and also everyone there has seen the best of the best of the best. At least a third of that room has been there from the get go. So they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, we've saw this, we've seen this, 100 times over.
Yeah.
But regardless of all of that, the opportunity for the first time ever, because during my time there's between 45 and 55 sketches. Like when working there, the 10 years I was there, I'd probably on a good week be in 12 to 17 of those sketches. So the most time you're watching, reading,
read through.
Read through. So then to show up and go back and to be in 95% of the sketches.
Yeah, so you're going to cold read over 50 sketches over 4 hours.
Sickening.
I loved it. I try to read them. You make little notes. You try to do it, and then just give it your all.
There's no way you could do it all.
Are you a good reader?
I'm a cold reader and stuff.
Some people are exceptional, and then some people are good. Or maybe you're okay with it.
I am okay with it. Yeah. And it did make, and it's something I say to anybody that is currently working at SNL or ever did or will if you get really good at doing SNL, you then need to then leave during the off weeks or the summers, go play with other people that don't do SNL, and you'll feel like Daniel LaRusso, like the Karate Kid, where it's like, oh, I didn't know I learned how to do this.
You're faster.
Because you're in this all-star team and you lose perspective.
You're thinking
as long as you don't take that bunker
mentality
into your relationships.
Seems like you have I'm dovetailing to Ted Lasso. Yeah. You seem to have a lot of wisdom around SNL. What would you say to a cast member who just got hired and you had 30 seconds with them?
Yeah. I would say enjoy the process of creation and destruction on a weekly basis. Just enjoy it. Make shit, eat shit, etc. Repeat. Like and don't judge yourself for when it sticks or when it doesn't, because like I've never said just because it dies doesn't mean it's dead. I've never said that before, but that makes total sense to me.
Oh yeah, and there's timing. Where is the set in the studio? Yeah. Who are you following? What sketch are you following? Yeah, and what's the vibe of that audience? Sometimes I can just tell when I'm doing stand up that there's a dead spot, and I see a open micer coming up. I go, no chance. Yeah. 5 minutes ago, probably would have rode a wave. Right now, it's just dead. So there's a lot of whimsy.
But Jerry Minor, who is a friend and was a guy that I looked up to, when he was at Second City, when he was on one of the stages there, he came back to guest write, and I asked him the same question. What would you, if you had to do it all over again, his time there? I think he was there for like maybe 2-3 seasons. I had more fun. If you could, the sooner you can make SNL your recess versus your school, the better. It's easier said than done.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. And yet if you're able to do that.
Well, I feel like it builds like unless you're a savant, like certain people, just immediate, but you're trying to fight nerves, try not to be too funny, get the card, here's the guest, look around, land the laugh, be there. And then the audience, eventually you land enough, the audience kind of you can feel the vibe, they're liking to see you, and then you get more confident and they like you more. And then I can see this happen with Cecily Strong. We were watching her evolution on the show.
Absolutely.
And you can't rush it, but it's
Lauren tried to expedite in a kind way. He asked me to do the warm-up before the show, like probably after my first or second year in the cast, and I again never done stand up.
What would you do? Yeah,
I would just do like old school jokes. Raise your hand if you've never been to a TV taping before. All right, but another show of hands. Who's at a TV taping for the very first time? A lot of the same people. Stuff like that.
My son mentioned you yesterday because he was at that show. And he goes, we're going to interview him. He goes, oh man, he's a really good stand-up.
Oh no, not
because that's all he saw acting, you coming out. Yeah.
That was Lauren just wanting the audience to have a better sense of who I was before showing up in a sketch. Yeah.
Before you get out there.
Yeah. And he would be, Norm used to do it. But like Norm evidently would say, so I'm going to be in this sketch. I'm going to come out. When I come out, really let them have it. Let them hear it.
Just please love me. Yeah, it'd be great if you could stand up and applaud. Yeah, right. That'd be better than anything.
Yeah. Lauren's like, Norm, let them not like you ahead of time, and then go do your update where they're going to hate you.
Don't you love when Lauren? You always uses the one name. Chevy did it. Danny did it that way. Billy liked it.
No, he's
there's only one Lauren.
I love. Towards the end there, on Tuesdays was the host dinners. Did you guys have those? Like where you?
Oh yeah.
I loved them because it was a little bit like the part of me that wouldn't do homework and then would try to talk about current affairs or current events before we started talking about Beowulf. I didn't read Beowulf, but I can talk about the TWA.
We're going to have a 4-hour boozy dinner and then go back and write the show.
Yeah,
I did it to avoid writing when they go. We're trying to gather people. You want to go, Spade? And I'm like, yeah.
I loved it just to see Lauren get loose and I learned through repetition. So hearing stories that he may have told before, it didn't bother me at all. I just kind of play his Ed McMahon I was always I loved when you came back to host. I always had fun making Lauren my straight man. During pitch meeting on Mondays, I for years since even Chicago, I still carry them these little tiny notebooks, and I just sit there with this little notebook. And it would be all right, Jason. And I'd go, hey, Lauren, you still need, you ran out of karaoke last night without paying. You owe me $100. He's like, I'll get you. Okay. You said that, whatever. And so then, whomever, Ludacris or Ben Affleck doesn't know what my relationship is with this guy who's an icon. And it's just me,
that's
just giving him guff. But he always, we would always laugh about it because it was always respectful. It was never me being a dick to him. But it's just kind of acting like he was just one of the bros, one of the guys. Boys. Yeah. And
hosting is scary. One time I went back and I got sick during dress, and I had to lay down. And Marcy, I don't know if you were there when Marcy Klein was up. Sure. She was, of course, dramatic anyway, and then freaking out, pounding on my door. I was in that little dressing room off of 8H. The host and the music are right there. Yeah. So I was in there laying on the ground, and I threw up, and then it was toward the end of dress, and I missed 2 sketches, and I just went in, and then they go. So those got cut. Yeah, the writers are like, fucking awesome, and then
it's the worst.
Awesome, man. It's already got a stink on it if we try to bring it back next week for Michael Keaton.
A little bit of bar flex.
Yeah, a little bar. Yeah. And then I got up. I mean, hero is a strong word, but I got up and I did the show. But
no, hero.
It was
people. That's like
people
your
were
flu
whispering.
Game. Like
Yeah,
Jordan.
I was flu.
You're Rocky.
I went out there and did a real C+ episode. I hosted twice. I don't know if anyone was better, if you can consider that. I remember Adam was in my monologue once, and then he Waterboy opened, and he had to fly back to LA, and Lauren goes, just do stand up. I'm like, it's not that fucking. I never even go on anymore, so I had to go do cold stand-up of like, dogs are funny.
Do you know he made me do, he asked me to do the warm-up for the fucking 40th anniversary.
Oh,
he asked me to, because I had done it for 8 years, that one that I was telling you. And again, just straight up, just being goofy, you know, I mean, Don Pardo would introduce me, and here's Jason Sudeikis, you know, and I go, give it up for Don Pardo, the man, the myth, the legend, the only person in this building that was quoted in the Bible, you know, just doing old jokes.
Okay.
God said, let there be light. He flipped the switch, you know, like the corniest, hackiest, whatever, but just having fun, right?
But the audience is...
And then what?
They're all cast.
That 40, that's what I said to him. Like, he has Eric Kenwarn, who was a buddy, he was a producer on the show, was, you know, writer guy that we wrote together all the time. And I was like, what are you doing? Like Sarah Silverman's in the house. You know, Chappelle, Spade. I mean, I name check. I was like, these guys would all kill. Like, why me? Will you just do it? You know? And so I do it. And I eat so much shit. It's not good. No one's listening. It's like 10 minutes before it's live, and you're looking out there, and what I've said is like, it looked like the gatefold of like Sgt. Pepper's, the cover, where it's just museum. Everyone.
Every person was famous.
Every person was famous, and then famous on top. Famous was talking to famous. At some point, I was like, you know, said to Keith Richards, who was talking to Jack Nicholson, you know, Keith, Jack, I think if you guys sit down, people will start to follow along. And it's just nothing. Then next, and I'm like, so I'm not bummed. I'm just laughing about it. I look out in the crowd. Galifianakis is crying with laughter about how much shit I'm eating. Lauren then comes up to me, says, you know, do you want me to, like, off mic, do you want me to introduce you, settle them down? I was like, yes, please. I go, yeah, man, like, that'll help. And he starts to go up to the mic. I go, hold on, let me introduce you. I go, ladies and gentlemen, really quick, let's give it up for the man. None of us would be here without him. The one and only. Please put your hands together for Mr. Dick Ebersol. And I make that joke. And as I do that, Bill Murray walks right in front of me, looks up at me, and gives me a little thumbs up, like kind of like burning the boss. And I was like, "That's why you say yes to this gig."
I'll take that.
Yeah. And so then Lauren says, you know, everybody quiets down a little bit, and then I got about 30 seconds to just say, "Hey, everybody, have fun tonight." You know, like before they got loud again before the real show started. But
that was just mayhem. I didn't have a dressing room. I think I was just hanging out in the hallway or something.
Yeah, my mouth gets dry just thinking about it right now.
Stargazing, every we turn into is like somebody.
I got to meet Eddie Murphy that night. I got it was like a to-do.
Chappelle asked me, where can I smoke a cigarette?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Go to the stairwell.
Anywhere
I don't think
want.
you can. What about a vape? Because I don't like them.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
I know.
But it was wild. Bradley Cooper, can I get a picture with you?
Yeah.
You know, sure.
It's something else.
For one night.
I know.
All right, let's talk about Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Ted started as a video.
As a commercial, yeah, very well.
There was a guy with a beard in that, and then who made that call?
I mean, there you go.
Because is it the same guy?
Same guy.
It is the same guy?
Same guy.
Yeah. Coach.
Because I was watching this morning going,
Brendan.
I don't know if they brought him over.
No,
Same dude.
your guys' chemistry and patter.
Yeah, we're pals from way back when.
I'll just set the table, David.
Yeah.
So I hear about Ted Lasso. Everyone's talking about Ted Lasso. I'm watching stuff.
Blah, blah, blah,
so
Ted
eventually
Lasso.
my wife
Blah,
and I
blah,
get to Ted Lasso. Like everyone else are like,
It's sort of mandatory at this point.
Yeah, and then it became like, this is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And you've heard everything. And you actually, you can talk to it, but you've heard from famous people, right? That just had to tell you what they thought. Can you... you want to mention them or no? Just famous people.
I mean, the ones that stick out were like, you know, finding out that Brad Pitt liked the show, finding out that, you know, Frank Oz writing a lovely letter, you know, like when at the Emmys last year, sitting next to, you know, Brian Cox and his wife and you know, we were at a table with some of the Succession folks, and then him being like, love the show. Like, just,
man.
If you get it, you
never in a
love
million
it.
years.
You know, it works on so many different levels. It's very the pop culture patter, how fast you all do it around the room. Talking about Julie Andrews movies, it's all thrown away.
Julie Andrews sent Brett Goldstein a very nice headshot, proclaiming
did she?
her own appreciation for him. So
and then you've
another
got
example.
The Roy Kent guy who's, these cocksuckers, we're going to kill him. So it's like it's almost like Andy Griffith at times. It's so earnest and sincere.
Yeah.
And then the likability factor of Ted Lasso. the country bumpkin that doesn't know what he's doing. He's smarter than everyone. He has no ego. When the guy tried to take you down, that actor would be
Muhammad, Nate, yeah.
And then you did your press conference and turned it. So what? So you do the NBC thing, and I watched it again, and you're a fish out of water. So then you guys get in a room, they get the order.
Yeah.
And so when did you know, like, hey, holy shit, we got a real hook for this now? Because you cast all these other characters.
Yeah.
How does that come together? I mean, it's like...
It starts and stops. Because we did the first commercial in 2013, the second one in 2014 we got to do because the one in 2013 was well received.
So it's sort of well received just by your friends. They hear it.
Yeah, but we also hear about it from the football. Because it was made to bridge the gap between American football fans and soccer fans. And Brendan, who plays Coach Beard, and Joe Kelly, who was one of the creators of the commercial, and we're all friends. And we're kind of like Goldilocks. I know nothing. Joe knows a little bit about both, and Brendan knows a lot about both, but mostly, and more importantly, soccer. Yeah. And so we tried to do that with the first commercial, and it hits like this weird Venn diagram of football fans like it, soccer fans like it, comedy folks like it, and the advertising, the business people like it. And so we get to do a second one. They don't want to give us the same budget, meaning they don't want to fly us out to the UK. That's okay. All right, we'll make the commercial about how Ted got hired and fired in 3 days and fell in love with soccer, fell in love with the UK. And so that's where like all the enthusiasm and not the egolessness, to a lot of degrees, came out. So then in 2015, Joe and Brendan and I meet in Brooklyn. My partner at the time was like, what do you guys all really enjoy doing that? You should do something. I was like, yeah, but what? So we sit out for a week. And we're like, is it another commercial? Is it a movie? Is it this? And we sort of modeled it after the British Office, 6 episodes, one season, 6 episodes, second season, then like an hour and a half special for the third season. And we just all these story ideas and characters just dumped out of us in. If that was a week, we worked on 3 projects that week. Wow. I'd say 4 out of those 7 days, we're just dedicated, and we just filled up these pages. Then it goes away for a couple years. We have Olivia and I have kids. Joe,
a couple years,
yeah. We didn't do anything with it because kids. Joe and 3 other buddies created a show called Detroiters with Tim Robinson and Sam Richardson and our buddies at Cannon, and that was on Comedy Central. So that was taking all of Joe's focus. I was doing like little things with like Forte and movies here and there, and then Bill Lawrence approaches me about doing a project. We talk about that. That doesn't quite, we don't end up doing that. But he's like, if you have any ideas, and I have like this stack of like 50 pages, like a first draft, rough draft of a pilot, but then all these different breakdowns of episodes and ideas and whatnot. And we want to take a look at this. I sent it to him.
She gave it to Bill.
Yeah, gave it to Bill. Bill, and so to answer your question, it's when someone that knows that much about television looks at it and goes, "Oh, there's something here.
Oh yeah,
you guys could do. You guys could do
You're
this."
Probably 90% there with that.
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, a lot of it, but not that Bill's influence wasn't immense and super duper helpful, and really was the gas that got this sort of this old jalopy.
Showrunners
sort of
are big in this town.
Huge.
They almost are more important than the idea or the stars.
Yeah. No, it's. And he provided all that. So he really got us moving. And I look back through the text recently, kind of remind myself of like our own origin story. And it really took, a good calendar year for just, the business. He had other things going on. We had other things going on, and navigating the deals with, and I mean, you're talking about NBC owned the rights. Warner Brothers is where Bill's deal was, a show for Apple. And that was once Apple came on, because we pitched it to everyone, but Apple was the only one to say, we'll take it. We'll take a shot at it. And then, then all the deal making after that.
Takes a while.
So other places, you went in with a pitch and they said, no, thank you.
Yeah, Netflix passed, Amazon passed. I mean, it makes, I get it. Like, because
well, until you see it.
Yeah, no one believes until you see it.
But you did have proof of concept.
All you need is one.
But the commercials are pretty broad, and I understood that.
Right,
and yet,
all that can't sustain.
And yet we did do our darndest to pitch the tone of what it was.
Yeah.
And yet, nobody was buying, and I don't begrudge anybody, really.
No, it's just Tim Cook.
Yeah, but nailed it.
Timmy Cook. How did you write the British characters, though? Like this, the woman who plays Rebecca.
Yeah.
Is so good. I mean, all the British people are so good. How did you put yourself in how they would react to the Americans? Because they're so well written too.
A little bit was good fortune of Brendan, Joe, and I all getting to work in Europe. Even though we did theater, for varying degrees. Like Brendan for like off and on for 5 years, Joe off and on for like 2-3 years, me off and on for a year. Like we're just writing archetypes, and just of like the American, whatever spirit, and the assumptions being made, and we'd made jokes about all those stereotypes and assumptions while at Boom Chicago, taking the piss out of ourselves. So we kind of had that to a certain degree, and I mean, Brits are like, in a fun way, one other thing that we learned, that I feel like I learned when doing stuff at Boom Chicago, was that we're more similar than we like to think, regardless of flag or age or race, gender, all those things, those complicated, amazing things that make the human jambalaya. Like at the end of the day, we like salt, we like sweet, we like we like
Americans.
Kissing, but I mean, even across everywhere. So if there's an archetype of someone that is too positive, I think any of us will assume like, oh, they're a nightmare, or something bad's going to happen, and he just sort of played against those things. 75 years or however many years of sitcoms, have us thinking that these things are supposed to go this way, these things are supposed to go that way, and we just try to like twist them or just turn them just a little tiny bit. Like nothing that we thought was.
So you don't see everything coming. Some people are smart; they think they see everything coming, and then you go, oh, it's a little. Not what you think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I remember feeling that way when watching the documentary about Mr. Rogers, being like, oh boy, here comes the dark turn at minute 50, and then it doesn't. And then you're like, okay, they're going to wait until an hour and 10 minutes in, then it doesn't. And you're just like, oh, he was just a decent man who was trying to make a difference in children's lives and also adults. Oh wow.
So there's people
how
like
subversive.
That.
That's cool.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do I do about that?
I mean, obviously, like Ted Lasso, the first season, there's a lot of failure. Yeah. And the way, and then just the fun of watching how he navigates it. Yeah,
and how he encourages other people to do it. It like for me, it always reminded me of like Highway to Heaven or Touched by an Angel. Like this idea
Michael Landon.
like that this person would come in and sort of act this way, and people would go, what the hell's going on here?
Right.
And
it was like, you're right. That's like, a good, just
subconsciously, I didn't realize at the time, but a big thing was about his egolessness. Like if you don't
no ego.
If you don't put any, if you just play it without any of that, he's not trying to get over on people. He's not trying to trick anybody, and it's still 100% consistent, regardless of people thinking that it's different than that now than it was then.
I talked to someone the other day who went on some psychedelic trips with ayahuasca and or mushrooms or whatever, and it was really all about getting rid of the ego. Yeah, because once the ego goes away, then something has changed this person. Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned. That book, Ted has no ego.
Yeah, that book, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, was a big influence on me. And the times that I had done, mushrooms, in my Amsterdam days.
The Amsterdam episode, I saw that a couple weeks ago. Yeah. that is
our
high
love
art.
letter.
Oh, that's something you have to see. That episode you got to watch more than once.
Yeah, thank you.
But the whole show has so many levels to it. It can be slapstick, it can be funny and silly, and then it can be very real. It's like when you're playing darts, Ted.
Yeah, sure.
And you go, something about, I'm just curious.
Yeah, be curious, not judgmental, yeah.
Do people mention that to you?
A handful, yeah. People have asked me to write that on like their arms, and they get a tattoo. And it's not his, and I don't even know if it's Walt Whitman's. I mean, we say it's Walt Whitman's because it's sort of apocryphally. It sounds like something.
Yeah, your character's casually always quoting.
Yeah.
Robert Frost, but it's always thrown away.
Yeah. Trying to be, because he's not too...
And so do you shepherd it like a sketch in a way? I know you have your 3 other partners. By the way, there is so many producer credits on the show. It's amazing.
So
I don't even know. I just watch the show and wait.
Am I a producer on it?
I don't know.
You're on it, David.
You might be. You might be after this.
You're co-executive. But do you treat it like, so you're probably someone else is technically directing, but you're just going to be an overriding creative force in it, just like shepherding a sketch.
I mean, the way I can, it's a little bit like, it's a big old cookout. Everybody brings a dish, and I just sort of help put things on the plate.
But the sensibility has to stay wherever you want it to be.
Well, I'm sure if something sounds false, you can say, I don't. This 100%. Doesn't feel like that.
That's been afforded to me from the get-go.
And do you? It's done now, right? So you miss. You're gonna miss it, I'm sure.
I will. Yeah. I mean, we're still. Like I still watch cuts for music stuff or something like that. But for the most part, but all the editing's done, all the writing's done. And now, we have the final 4 episodes being rolled out, and then a handful of press here and there, which is a joy to do because we all get along actually. So.
In the editing bay, they call it. Yeah. So it's sort of, there's so many choices in there. And so I would assume, coming from all those years of sketch comedy and other things, that, and you may have people that are on the same sensibility, but sometimes you'll know, or I assume you're going to know, we have to go to that reaction shot a little sooner to get to laugh.
Yes.
So there's all that mathematics in there. And so this show is landing it so consistently.
That stuff's hard to do.
I would assume it's either a few people that are right on the same frequency or one person that says, guys, I think we should do it this way.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why it's so brilliant.
I mean, I think it's just the best idea winning. And there's a certain level of harmony in it. And it is something that I learned in that same Karate Kid way that I was talking about with SNL, where, by the time you were there and by the time you were there, 15 years later, all those same people were still there building those sets, making those props, building those wigs, and they're all great at it. They've done 10,000 hours times,
Unreal.
just our 3 generations, much less the 2 prior and then the 4 cents or whatever. And like, I was like, okay, my sketch got picked. I'm going to go into that room with the heads of each department and just let them know what the sketch is about from my perspective, without pontificating, without being condescending, and just let these geniuses do whatever they want to do with it. And then we have done that with this show, like where and if you leave a little space for the people to create behind the camera and in the office and in marketing and whatever to lean into this show, the same space and grace we want to afford the audience as well, I think a lot of people feel more ownership over it.
Yeah, they're good in their job, and you let them do their job. And if you hire good people, I like to not worry about some things. I like to kick at someone and say, you know what you're doing way more than I do, and you come in there and try to boss them around.
It's nothing like someone handing you something
good, and you get the credit, basically.
And I get the Robert Smigel was out for me, and Bonnie and Terry Turner.
Special,
in terms of, it's such a difficult word, art or whatever. It seems like there was some, and you can talk to this or not, autobiographical tinges in the 3rd season based on you potentially your private life. It was, you can speak to that or not, but I couldn't help but notice, and I thought it was so wonderfully done, because I've been on the road at times with my sons and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
but those are very poignant scenes.
Thank you. Yeah. What's interesting is that my relationship to my life, like it wasn't there from the very get-go. Like even when the initial idea of doing a show, like, well, why would he go there? Because a guy like my age would most likely have a child, at least one child, and probably be in a relationship. If he's not, there's must be a reason why. And so that's why the pilot ends the way the pilot. I mean, I like literally the second it was thinking about it in the long form of a television show, I was like, I knew that was the ending of the pilot, was going to be okay. So none of that was autobiographical, and then as life sort of marched on, the only thing that in my life that helped inform the playing of things, and maybe even the notion of a story point when breaking the episodes, was being a father. And so what that's like to be away from your child, because, Otis and Daisy were, the season 2 and season 3 were in London. So I wasn't away from them, with the way we split our time with our children, it's a week on, week off. So, but I was always, they don't do overtime in the UK. So I was home. I was able to be home for
real?
bedtime.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, they literally afforded you the opportunity to make a living. I know, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to. Luckily I've never had a parent take their own life. So you just kind of like have to do the acting thing of like empathize with someone that has gone through that or has been forced to go through that based on the decisions. And so, it's, I understand people conflating the two.
It's a good answer that it's not maybe people are reading in a bit.
Well, it's a place to go anyway.
Yeah. It's what would naturally happen in these things. Because so much of it for me is like what happens when, if you haven't broken up with someone and you haven't been broken up with, then there's a whole bunch of music out there for you once you do. There's a whole bunch of movies and TV too. Like, and whether you're on either side of that thing, and boy, you think you like songs now, they're going to get you through things and make you want to jump off a roof and think you can fly, or the opposite.
It's a compliment to your acting too. When you have that little soccer field, the Lego set, you're missing your, or just the little references to FaceTime, or my son's here right now, or there's where his flight is. All that detail is so.
I mean, that's just also having friends that go through all these things, and you just keeping those things in your head, heart, and soul, and letting them bang around there. Then at some point when they come out, they come out. I think about, I watched it's not usually conscious. Like I watched the audio commentary for Godfather. I think it was either 1 or 2 just recently, and it was talking about how he made Godfather 1, and then everybody loved it, and he's like, "Do Godfather 2?" He's like, "I don't have a Godfather 2." He's like, "I don't." He goes, "But I forget the line the studio head had for him. It's like, you found out the formula for Coca-Cola, and you won't make any more bottles." Like, it's such a great line. And he had this separately. He had this idea about a father and son story where you show the father and son contemporaneously when they're at the same age, and then that came down. He remembered that, and that became Godfather 2. And so it's like these things going on in the world and life, are one thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's their time to show up. Christopher Walken hasn't showed up to say the lines yet. And so you're kind of like, all right, well, here it is all at this time. And so like I said,
is it because one of our Lornisms that we remember is he said to me once, "You never leave a hit." So with Ted Lasso, is it
not
in your mind?
Is
it done now?
This story is done. It sounds like such a political answer, but it's the truth. It's like we only conceived these 3. Then this thing became this big old thing. That
how much content is the 3 seasons? If you think of it as a movie,
gosh, it's 10 episodes, 12 episodes, 12 episodes. But this season is probably twice as long as the first season. The episodes are just just longer. There's more. More characters, more story.
It could go back to being an NBC promo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I think you could do?
It's a natural,
the Doppler effect.
Progression.
I know how this is something a flight of fancy. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I'm cross talking. Tarantino wrote a book after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I loved so much. It feels like Ted Lasso, if there ain't going to be more television, that character, people would want to hear. Have you thought of that?
100%. Yeah, we've thought about
writing a novel about him.
If whether it's that, whether it's doing podcasts about the episodes to sort of offer those audio commentaries, which I was so lucky to grow up in a day and age of DVDs, just to sort of talk through things and the themes and the people that have expressed interest in the show, and also explain the show in a much more cerebral a way than I ever would have been able to explain it to anybody. And even when they're off or wrong, it's still interesting. But yeah, there's opportunities, I think, for spinoffs. The way people have gravitated and cared for these characters and seen themselves or their friends or their family in these characters in these situations is we were hoping people would do that. We didn't expect it to be
when
like this.
When did you kind of go, holy shit? Halfway through the first season, or when you won all the 18 Emmy nominations? At some point, you went.
Even winning the Emmy. Or even the nomination for the Emmys didn't. I think I don't know, man. It came out during quarantine, so we didn't know, because I'm not too active online, and less so then. A guy would drive by the house when I'm taking out the garbage and honk, "Hey, I love the show." Oh, right. And it's a little bit the same way I felt SNL days. You walk around on Sunday and people are like, "Great show last night." You're like, "Oh, right. People watch there's
someone's watching."
You know what I mean?
Terrifying.
You can get a feel for what works and what doesn't sometimes, just out in the real world.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's usually very different.
And then you're getting slaughtered with it. You go, "Oh, shit, something's..." Then an Emmy nomination.
Yeah.
Then Apple probably tells you it's doing well. They might not tell you exactly how, but it's doing well.
That was a big difference. That probably is from a business side of things, understanding that they have access to metrics and information that they don't share. Was it premiered on a Friday? We had already started our writers' room for season 2, just in case. Mm-hmm. Then Monday calls the heads of Apple call and say, "Hey, so we'd love to pick you up for a second season." Then 2 weeks after that, we'd love to add. Can you do 2 more episodes?
That gives you the chills.
For a second. Then you're like, then 2 weeks after that, we'd love to get you for a 3rd season. And you're like, something has changed.
They know something that I don't know in the inner sanctum.
Yeah. But that anecdotal thing of walking around became more clear. Because season 2, we're in lockdown up there in London. So we started going to things later. Yes, we were winning these awards, but then you feel like, is that just inside the bottle or the bowl, the showbiz box? And which is lovely and flattering, and also a little something you keep. I don't know about you guys, but you keep a little bit like.
Well, you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to kill. Do season 4, it'll crush.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to spook the muses, and so by the time we're going back there to do this past 3rd season, all of 2022, and getting to take the kids to football matches and stuff, and have people calling us coaches and being excited to see us, and like that. I would say,
And hearing Brad Pitt loved it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's always nice. Yeah,
you can tell,
Miss Piggy and Yoda. Come on.
No matter what you do, Dana, like you've done it, we've done it. You hear from the streets, like I could tell you the top movies that they like, the top TV, because it's just in order. You just hear this one the most, this one the most, and they probably only really like probably 40 of my movies. Like really, really love.
I like them all. I want to ask you a question. So you come on.
Why did I add that? I don't know.
We have editing capability.
Get rid of anything I say.
This is what's curious to me, is because I came off like a rocket. I've never had anything because of this 30 years later. I'm having a little bit of a moment in Hollywood. Nothing that anyone would know about, but I'm getting more things coming at me. So you come off SNL, you're doing all these movies, pandemic is whatever, you do this, and now here you are. You're the belle of the ball. Hollywood loves you. So now you're wiser, more mature. What's coming at you? Like movies, would you do a potato chip commercial if the price was right?
100% with Forte and Solomon. Yeah, you got to dance with the ones that brung you.
Awesome.
I couldn't do it alone.
I mean, you know right now that you have this heat and that the audience loves you. The world, you're in this moment. And so I just wondered how, because now it's happening a second time. Here it is again.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it from the inside. And maybe that's my own just sort of like.
But are things coming at you though? Like
to a degree, but like there's a little bit of like,
you could get things off the ground.
What do we do? Yeah. What do we do with?
But with the TV show, it'd be probably scary to go do one right away. Like you want to let it sit for a second.
A complete about face. I mean, there's a few ideas out there. Like I was really wanting to do this play on Broadway with this, but just with family, it's tough. It's tough to. I'm still trying to navigate those real life things, and also just where my head, heart, and soul are at, and there's also a great desire to like get a little bored because I
take your time.
Yeah,
I would say if anybody was advising, I would say just don't be in a hurry. This thing is still it's still landing. Yeah, people are discovering it today. Which I tell lovely. Anyone who hasn't seen it, start.
Yeah, I believe in that wholeheartedly. What I truly love is seeing the way all these great people behind the scenes, in front of the camera, the way that their lives have changed from it in a way that I was afforded an early glimpse of that with being hired by SNL. Mm-hmm. That changes the way folks that maybe weren't supportive of a child taking a path in the arts, mine were luckily, but it changes the game there where it's like, my son,
just works on Let's Ted Lasso. Just anything on it, especially if one of their first things is a hit. Like it's also scary because some people, like we used to talk about when you go on Friends and you're a young actor and you're on Friends and you don't, as much as you tell yourself, you don't know how hard it is after that. Like it can't be like this all the time. Everyone treats you like a certain way on anything that does well. You look back, it's always going to be ups and downs. So
it's kind of like what you bring to it. Like I know we worked just as hard on on any of those movies that you named as I did on this. I was charged with more responsibility and being like like from the writing side, producing side, being the final like tube for decision making and tone cop and whatnot. That's all lovely, but at the end of the day, what I'm putting out there and what I want to put out into the world is and how I go about trying to do that. Been doing that is from any of these sketches, from the sketches that weren't on SNL that I did with all my buddies back in Kansas City
from
up
you,
to now,
basically, or your very tight friends. Mm-hmm. As long as that's coming from that area, then it's probably going to be good. Unless it's I don't know if Quentin Tarantino or whoever your favorite director, Scorsese, but in lieu of anything else, if it's coming from you, it
feels authentic. And all I've done is added to the people that I want to make laugh and be proud of what I'm doing and then how I'm going about doing it. So it is those guys that I played basketball with, those guys from my quote unquote cross country team. But then I acquired everything from my days of improv in Kansas City, Chicago, boom, and so it's just like this. That same gatefold, that I saw on the 40th, like I have that many people, behind me, and they're not looking over me, being like correcting my work or making me second guess. They're just encouraging me, and you just want to kind of be able to look back there metaphorically and be like, have them, doing that nod of just like, do it, keep doing that, keep doing that, keep being, you just want to be proud of you, you want to, and you also want to feel getting to come through sketch and improv in a whole community like Chicago could have happened to 10 dozen of the people that I got to work with. You know, just
I know
different
some
time.
great
You know what I mean?
That never got a total break.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And you want to do right by them too, because it's I don't know. It's
there's so much
karma.
whimsy to this game, and it's there by the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to stay humble and go. I love Paul Newman for that. He was my favorite celebrity because one they would go, "Oh, you've raised $500 million from your spaghetti sauce." Yeah. He goes, "I wish I'd kept the money." You know, he didn't want to be put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And the other thing, how did you do it? I could give you 1,000 answers. Just plain dumb luck.
Yeah.
So just those two things.
You asked about movies that were huge influence. It's not a comedy by any means, but a big one that shows up in Ted Lasso all the time was Color of Money. Like, and you know, in 1986. So like between my age of 9 and 11, I watched these movies that I'd go to theaters with my dad. Things that are R-rated. You know, like
movies are everything.
They like
everything.
That the mental, the male mentoring in that movie. Like of
with
Color
Paul
of Money
Newman and Tom Cruise
is like, and Tom Cruise after ladies and gentlemen, Top Gun, Tom Cruise, well after Risky Business and All the Right Moves and all that, but like now he's like a bona fide and he's incredible in it. He's like,
that's when you don't hear enough about Color of Money was a killer.
It's because Scorsese has so many good ones. But Color of Money, I love that movie. I was talking about that. Ed Norton and I saw him recently. We were talking about that movie, and I thought I was going to get laid into when he started talking about Scorsese because that guy knows. The guy's done the thing and forgot more about movies than I'll ever know.
Yeah.
Like, and he brings up Color of Money. I go, I was so ready to geek out. Be like, that's my favorite Scorsese movie. And a lot of it has to do with the way I saw it, but then also those performances. Yeah. I recommend people to see that movie. And then if you love it, then go back and watch The Hustler as like a prequel. Yeah. Because
Jackie Gleason.
Is that Jackie Gleason and Paul Newman?
Yeah, where he plays Fast Eddie Felsen, the same character. Same guy that wrote the novel, Walter Tevis, who wrote both books. And
I like pool hall movies.
I do
like,
too.
Rack 'em. We were going to call this podcast Rack 'em.
That's good.
For real?
After you do a punchline, you go, Rack 'em.
There you go. And then just have a transition with the sound of the balls.
Rack 'em.
Because there's a mystique. There's a mystique to people that can play the piano really well as adults that you've never seen play piano, that are really good at Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And pool. Like if someone's good at pool, you're like, especially if they didn't grow up with money, they didn't grow up with a table in there. Like, how do you get good at pool?
The way they do the chalk and the way it goes perfectly on their hand. It's just like
the math of it.
They made it look cool. It's so complicated, pool.
But the dramatic movies affected me in 2001. I wasn't everything watching Jonathan Winters and stuff. Those things, right? I wouldn't say, could I do that? It was just blew my mind. Yeah. As art, and the Beatles, of course, Pink Floyd.
Tom Hanks and Michael Keaton movies, like where they're they're funny 15% of the movie, but it's like they're carrying this dramatic narrative. Like
Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom
Michael Keaton.
is incredible.
Mr. Mom is finally it gets his due. I love it.
Mr.
Keaton
Mom
has just a magic as an actor.
Yeah.
Gung
Ho, I love. That was a movie my Uncle George
was in.
I have a Gung Ho poster that my Aunt Nancy gave me in my basement, and that was. But again, Michael Keaton was so.
Oh, he's great.
I mean, him and Tom Hanks, they were these modern versions.
Tom Hanks and Big.
Yeah. Tom Hanks. What'd you guys think of Punchline?
Interesting.
That was your world.
We knew someone who trained him. Barry Sobel was a stand-up. I thought Tom did a great idea. I mean, he did a great job.
Yeah, it's such an interesting having. I guess one that we could talk about altogether is Studio 60. Like when someone makes a film or television show about your world. Like we're very blessed to have a bunch of the football soccer community having taken us under their wing and embraced us in a way that again we weren't jockeying for, but the fact that we got it authentically and organically really floats our boat. Yeah, we're very, very pleased about that.
It's hard to make a movie about stand-up, know. And I think Distance Running, there's never been Chariots of Fire, not really difficult to capture that. I think usually there is the meltdown and then the mic feeds back.
Yeah.
And the comedian has a meltdown. Yeah. Which, of course, Tom Hanks is a brilliant actor, played it perfectly. Yeah. But I've never seen that in a club.
They also have locker rooms at the Improv.
The comedian turns and then there's a squeak. And
wasn't there a locker room?
Yes, there was, yeah.
I mean, I think people would say
Taylor Negron dressed up as like a nun or something.
But he did for the show?
Yep.
It did it as well as anyone's done it. But it's hard to do it. Like if they talk about doing a dramatic show about a sketch show.
Yeah, like Studio 60,
SNL
when they did. I love the pilot, and then
Studio 60. Yeah, it's just tough to capture that.
That was all I watched. Yeah, it is. It's very. It is.
What are the movies you revisit now as a
Pulp Fiction's a big one. Like
Pulp Fiction.
I think Die Hard is
early Quentin.
What'd you say the second one was?
Die Hard. I think Die Hard.
I think movies you can watch again. Like when my wife and I had. We watch a lot of Redford, all the President's Men.
Of course.
We watch 3 Days of Condor, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. I showed to my sons 6 months ago.
Yeah, unreal.
This is awesome. It's really fun. You have all that ahead of you. How old are your kids?
Otis is 9, Daisy's 7.
Yeah. So is he asked for Saving Private Ryan yet?
Not yet. No. But I do show them.
Ryan.
I remember my dad taking me to see Beverly Hills Cop in the theater. I saw that movie in the theaters with my dad. Not supposed to. F words all over the place.
Yeah.
Nudity.
You never forget that.
And never forget it. And it made me I wanted to be Eddie Murphy so bad. So bad. I and more so than like Chevy Chase and Fletch. I loved Chevy Chase, but Axel Foley really knocked my socks off in a way that still does when I rewatch it.
And they're coming out with a new one, right? Or is that?
I guess, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, but at least we got that.
I loved Animal House is my R-rated one. They showed the girls TITS.
I know it's heavy duty,
and it was pretty great.
What does that mean? I don't know.
In the middle of the movie, I go, I have a boner.
It was so illicit, so nasty.
And Monty Python.
Monty Python was
I was pretty young.
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
That scared me.
Saw The Longest Day when I was 7 in the theater. The black and white World War II film.
Yeah.
Shouts about, the ships come up. Sorry, I was a little broken German there.
Did you see The Fabelmans, the Spielberg one?
I haven't watched it yet.
I watched it on the plane ride.
What do you think?
I loved it.
Really?
I mean,
it is Spielberg.
It's Spielberg telling, autobiographical, his story, but just his love of movies and having children that are falling, in love with storytelling and getting to see their mom and dad do it and so much I feel of, and I understand the laments of over nepotism, but so much of it is seeing someone do it and see them enjoying it or seeing the way people enjoy them.
Yeah.
I nothing that I've purchased or have been given on a plane will move Otis towards wanting to do what I do for a living more than him probably seeing people give me as many high fives as they do when we go to a soccer game.
Or anything,
when they're happy to see when people are happy to see you,
joy.
They're being polite and begin because of the themes of this show. They're like, I mean, it's something that how often have we had the opportunity for people that work in comedy to have people take them aside and be like, I discovered this. I watched this when I was going through this, and it helped me.
That's the thing. It's like if you were famous for, I don't want to pick on Porky's, but it's something like that, like a hard R weirdo movie that everyone loved. But with Lasso, TL, Teddy. With Teddy, the people are going to be emotional about it because it touches everything.
Yeah, Hannah gets that a lot. The woman who plays Rebecca, just the amount of women that come up to her and just like, you are playing me.
Yeah, she's a force of nature, obviously.
Yeah. So the thing I was going to say earlier about the writers, we let all the Brits anglicize things. Every now and then do we push back where it's just like car park versus parking lot or saying tie instead of draw, and some of those things drive people crazy, and I understand that. But that's just this is the phrase that I would always use just so folks in Kansas can get it. So you're trying to get too much in the weeds of the politics of,
you don't want to lose the crowd
because I think if your dominating emotion is confusion, then you're that much further away from either being happy or sad.
You talk like Ted Lasso sometimes. Say that again.
Or vice versa.
If your dominant emotions are,
I like your
confusion.
Your dominating emotion is confusion.
If your dominant emotion is confusion, you're that much further away from making an audience. If the audience is confused, then they don't know whether to laugh or cry at a given moment. So you kind of try to give them breadcrumbs.
That's me during Tenet.
And that's nice.
Exactly.
Juno.
My dominant emotion was anger.
Juno Temple.
Yes, ma'am.
Is great.
Just got to go through the list.
Well, no, I like all these two actresses especially are great. Obviously, Brett Goldstein, just the way he stands all the time is
like
a
gunslinger.
He's just funny. He's a funny voice. I'm sure it's not someone's going to do him on SNL.
I know. I'm surprised they haven't yet.
I'm really surprised. He's such a funny character.
But that's all him. It's fun to hear him talk about it because it's him doing Bill Sykes in his mind from Oliver. He's just just trying to be Bill Sykes. Just like. And so when I'm doing like rewrites or where you're breaking stories, just like the same thing at the rewrite table at SNL, just doing bad impressions of all these like very specific, authentic people. I'm just, you know, talking like this with Rebecca and doing like that with Kaylee. And I'm doing bad. I can't do any of these accents.
Right, but you're just hearing them.
You're just hearing the rhythm and the cadence of it and, you know, trying to draw from what they're, you know, what you...
And when did you decide?
Life experiences.
Sorry, one more question.
One last one.
When did you decide
Dana.
that you would use R-rated language? Was that pretty early on?
Yeah, that
because
was
you kind of
early
use
on.
it, you don't lean on it, but all of a sudden it's like these fucking cocksuckers, mostly from him.
Yeah,
but that's an interesting.
It was.
dynamic.
I 100% didn't want to use it myself. I didn't want him to be. You know, all those movies
Ted
that
wouldn't.
you know, I sort of got. And I mean, I was making these choices, you know, for the reasons I made them. You know, the movies that I was doing and the characters I was playing, a lot of them were cads, you know, guys on the make, you know, like trying to get girls and whatnot.
Like Dick Fuel.
Yeah, exactly. Like he just wanted respect. You know, he just wants respect and a paycheck and a good lunch. But then. So I knew that lay on for me. I didn't want to be bawdy, and I didn't want him to swear. If he did, it was only, you know, I think he's done it once every season. But everybody else, it's like, yeah, that's just the world, you know, as it is. And so we just wanted to.
It just works.
Apple never fought it. They didn't want us to use the C word. So we there was a monologue we had.
It's thrown around in England more.
I mean, it's like, and that was the whole premise. It was like, you know, we were even ready to beep it, you know, but it was May, the you know, the woman who owns the bar uses it very casually, and in reference to Ted when
the C word.
And just Ted and Beard's reaction to, whoa, hey, you know, she's like, what's the big deal, you know, and just her going, no, you can use it in a bunch of different ways. And she goes through a bunch of different ways. You know, it reminds me a lot of like when it ended up not being able to use it because Apple was like, nah, we can't use the C word. I was like, all right. You remember Schneider's stand-up bit from Days Gone By of the word dude? Yeah. Is that great, that
dude?
Idea of...
I like that you remember that.
Oh, yeah. That was you were on that special too, I think,
dude.
right?
Was that the young comedians?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That thing
dude?
got a lot of
You're in
play.
a closet with a knife.
Yeah.
Dude?
Yeah.
Talented. Yeah. Rob has some really good rhythms. Dude.
No war.
I mean, come on. I didn't know it was BYOT. I didn't say it on the ticket.
Hi, Rob.
No, that's my joke. Calm down. This is mine. He's doing me at the U2 concert.
Oh, what is it?
Bono's yelling,
no war.
No war. I'm saying no more.
You're saying no more. What is he saying? War? Sorry.
I go, I don't know. I
didn't
know who the fuck is singing. I'm supposed to read his lips.
Am I booging you?
Am I boog? I don't mean the booging
you. Didn't mean to boog you. That's a bad Bono. What's your brain candy? When do you want to calm down? What do you do? Take a walk? Do you watch
I do.
You watch the best of David Spade? Or?
Yep, still.
Do I have one?
If you don't, you do now.
I do. I mean, I'll play. The last few years has been pinball was one for a while, but those are tougher to move around, right? Yeah. So playing video games, like playing Fortnite with like friends, and just turning my brain off and just focusing on that. And then a thing that I got into over the last I'd always been into it, but over the last 6 years basically, was like magic, like just shuffling cards. Like I just find it very meditative, and a lot of times when in situations where I have to do as much, listening and thinking as I do talking, I'll usually have a deck of cards on me because it'll keep me from, pulling out my beer.
Yeah.
You just practice shuffling. And
or just kind of like doing like little sleight of hand moves. And I don't really perform magic for anyone. I'll do it for like friends after a couple beers or like my kids if there's just like a deck laying around. But I've never been one to be, hey, you want to see a trick? I haven't
What
been
should
that
you
guy.
do to relax, David?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
I just
haven't
do
been
it with a
relaxed in
guitar.
30 years. See, I envy that. I wish I could. I know before I die, I know I will dedicate more time to like trying to play the piano. I've done it throughout my life, and then something always. But it's just that desire to want to run before I can even crawl.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
Piano's tough. I have an electric piano too. I'm just banging on it all the time, but I don't, But the guitar, if you get nylon strings, get a small guitar, just learn.
Because it doesn't rip up your fingers.
Yeah, before you get the calluses. So you get a clear note rather than it's all mushy.
Yeah.
Learn 5 chords, G, C, D, E minor, and then you can play 100 songs. Yeah. No, but it's really simple.
Just
it's mostly the right hand.
Is Smoke on the Water still the go-to one, or is that too old?
That aged you so hard, Spade.
I don't even know what it is.
No, that's a Deep Purple, isn't it?
I'm young. Don't act like you don't know what Smoke on the Water. Don't make me the old guy.
You probably know what it's about, too.
I would do Come Nirvana.
Come and get some.
As you come, get some.
I got
come as you are.
I've always loved Nirvana. I was right in the sweet spot.
Yeah, me too. And I was older, but still thought they were brand new.
But I listened to them a ton before doing this season for one reason or another. And Otis was playing guitar. Him and Daisy take these like lessons, do this thing out here called Kid Row.
Oh, okay.
It's lovely. It's like School of Rock, but they just call it.
When
a
you're young,
name.
you learn so much better.
And I bought I'm left-handed, even though I don't play guitar, but I would play air guitar left-handed.
Like McCartney,
so I bought exactly, or Kurt Cobain. So I bought like a guitar and Otis and I took a lesson together. He was already better than me, and I was slowing him down. And I'm just like, even playing Smells Like Teen Spirit, so hard. So difficult, and then even if you play the simple version of it, like it hurt my fingers. I couldn't drums are a much more natural fit for me. I have better limb separation.
You could also get a maple neck Strat and have them.
That's a bird.
David, this is inside baseball. It's a Strat. Caster.
The nylon strings was a mind blower here because I was like, oh yeah.
But you can hear also with very lightweight strings on an electric guitar. You could play bar chords with that. Really,
but it's
simple.
Still hard.
Yes,
it's like
Teddy.
It's impossible.
Even people that just do it noodling around make it look so easy.
Next time we hang out, I'll show you a couple. I'll show you just a D chord and then a bar. Just
I'll bring
bar, 3 notes.
I'll bring a pinball
and then
machine.
You'll be like,
I'll take a nap.
We have a little farm up north, and I want a room with pinball machines in it because.
It's worth at least having one.
As a kid, they were huge. I've not played it in a while, and a pool table.
Jason Sudeikis was our guest today, and he, in summation,
it's the left brain.
Lived at Burger King.
He's one of Kansas's favorites. He had a very small room at the Paramount Hotel.
A small room.
We don't normally sum up.
His next thing is going to be something with low pressure. He might remake The Godfather or something.
Yeah.
Our guest has been Jason Sudeikis.
You were great. I saw your car is murdered out, by the way.
Not bad, yeah.
Yeah, not bad, guy.
The jet car. I wanted to look, like a Batmobile.
It looks cool.
SNL All-Star, movie star, and now a global live streaming star. I don't know. It sounds
That's
like
a new one.
I mean, I said star 3 times.
Yeah.
It sounds like a nice resume. I just wish you
cool,
all the
dude.
best and take your time and have fun. And I'm one of those people that was really affected by this show and just love it. Just really affects me.
I was affected
also
by
makes
COVID.
me laugh.
By COVID,
David, we're going to work on you. David's a work in progress.
No, I'm not. Look, I took notes.
No one works harder than
Thank you,
David.
Justin. What's your name?
Justin Thoreau has been our Jason
Justin was
guest.
last time.
Billy Sudeikis was here today. Who
Neil
plays
Sedaka.
Ted Lasso.
I think Bill Sudeikis wasn't he like a baseball player? If I remember correctly.
Sudeikis, is that Greek or what's it?
Lithuanian.
Litha who?
Litha what?
Litha who?
Can I go away? I stand
not
quietly.
Lithuanian. But yeah.
I'm throwing this away.
David, I want to hear your Hall Pass story.
Yeah, you didn't finish
No,
that.
I dated a girl on Hall Pass.
No, that's not your Hall Pass. The girls that come up to you at the end.
Oh.
You dated.
But yes,
He likes the other story better.
dated in Hall Pass.
In Vegas,
Yeah, the girl that.
the girls that
Sounds
they
like
go,
a good idea.
you're my Hall Pass. You get the meet and greet, and I go, first of all, they're all nervous. They hands drenched like a ShamWow. I'm like, and then I go, and they go, I'm your Hall Pass. You're my Hall Pass. I go, oh, and they go, that's where I go, no, I know what it is. I'm a hard pass on my side.
You're a hard pass. You're my hard pass.
Yeah, you're my hard pass. I saw you in the back. I go, there's my hard pass.
Because I'm a gentleman. It's not you, it's me.
This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast.
No joke, folks. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13, executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.